So welcome guys, what if Naruto became the supreme leader of a new realm? Movie. A blonde man in his late 20s exhaled in relief while entering a small apartment that only he lived in. Man, today sucked. He groaned, throwing his suitcase on the floor unceremoniously before plopping straight down onto the bed face first. Just another day in the life as a blue-collar worker, trying to make ends meet and provide for himself to the best of his ability, or at least that's what he tried to do, but today just wasn't his day. Today was the busiest day of his life. After years of studying and hard work in college, he became a carpenter who owned a small, but successful carpentry workshop that focused on both Western and Japanese style aesthetics, but mainly Japanese. Considering the blonde's background, it wasn't that surprising, and after studying many textbooks of historical Japanese culture, he was able to nail down the style almost perfectly. This had the positive effect of attracting various customers, and while he did receive quite a lot of orders, it was usually on the level where he didn't have to work himself to the bone to complete them, but today was crazy. So many requests that his stupid, yet cute, secretary booked at the same time without consulting him. While he was happy that his little company, which had a total of 10 workers including himself, earned so much money that they are now able to take a month off work due to sudden rush of orders, but it didn't change the fact that he and his colleagues had to work non-stop for almost 24 hours straight. Besides the incredibly short power naps, he barely managed to get any sleep. The blonde adult sighed as he went to the kitchen and pulled out a cup of ramen and some juice from the fridge. "I kinda wish I was back home," he muttered to himself before turning towards a mirror that was hanging on a wall to see his face. His peach skin had the healthiest of tan due to often having to work outside, and 3 whisker marks adorned his face, which despite his age, made him look quite handsome. Finally, his eyes were clear blue in color. "It all seemed so long ago," he muttered again, his eyes gaining a nostalgic look in them. This person is none other than Naruto Uzumaki, a former shinobi of Konohagakure, former Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox, and a former hero during the Fourth Shinobi War. The blonde then sighed sadly as he remembered how he died by the end of the war. He and his best friend Sasuke had battled the mother of all chakra, Kagaya Otsutsuki, and after a few close calls they managed to seal her back into her prison inside the moon. Unfortunately, before the two best friends could celebrate their victory, Black Zetsu, Kaguya's evil spawn of a son, launched a sneak attack against Sasuke. Tired from the battle, the Uchiha wasn't prepared for the unexpected attack and would have most likely died if Naruto hadn't taken the hit for him. Before Black Zetsu had the chance to gloat over the successful kill, Naruto had mustered what little remained of his chakra and destroyed the evil spawn with a powerful Rasengan to the head. The blonde adult went to his mailbox slot and smiled as he got his royalties from his other means of income. It got really weird in the end, he mused as he took out his notebook to note down his recent money flow. The blonde man remembered how before dying he released his jailed friend Kurama, the Nine-Tailed Fox, and made Sasuke swear to let go of his hatred and to protect their friends. The last Uchiha agreed without hesitation and held his hand when Naruto finally passed away in peace. "Before that dick took me away," Naruto said with a twitching eye, "asshole." Oh yes, how could he forget? It was as if it happened yesterday. After he died he met the death god itself, who by the way is a biggest prick in Naruto's opinion. The god told him how impressed it was with Naruto's choices in life and his final sacrifice. It was so impressed actually, that it decided to grant him a second chance in life, but in a different world instead of bringing back to his old home. So that meant no Konoha, no being Hokage, no ninja friends, no best friend that is Sasuke or any of his other precious people. It did bum him out for a while after he was reborn in another world, but luckily he was born in a small family with 2 sisters and very kind parents. He lived a pretty average life while occasionally making a friend there and there, but it didn't have any exciting adventures like in his previous one. Well, there was that one time where he discovered, shit, he almost forgot. "I got to go." Naruto quickly stood up from the kitchen table and shoved the rest of the noodles into his mouth. Brrrrrb. He then quickly went to his smartphone to see the date. Damn, it really is the last day. For those who don't know, not only was the blonde man a blue-collar worker, but also a big gamer who spends his free time playing the most popular VR MMORPG game called Yggdrasil. The blonde moved towards the spare bedroom that had a single, but big and comfortable chair with high-tech computer screens and a keyboard attached to it. It was one of those hardcore gamer chairs with latest gaming gadgets. "Since this is the last day, I might as well go out with a bang." He shrugged to himself and soon jumped into the chair. After getting into a comfortable seating position, the former shinobi placed a VR headset on his head and watched as a thin hologram appeared before him. "Activate game, character model, Uzumaki Naruto," he recited, and a moment later, his vision exploded with thousands of colors that sent him into a new world. XXXXX, an empty rocky area that had a loud waterfall and an old forest nearby. 3 golden rings suddenly appeared and slowly descended towards the ground. There stood a lone figure of a tall man, wearing almost ancient-looking, thigh-length white howry that had a seal engraved on the back in human blood that said, Death God. His lower region was covered in light metal and leather armor that samurai used to wear, ensuring that he made almost no sound when walking. One of the most noticeable features about the tall figure was a bushy tail of a fox sticking out just above his rear end. Another noticeable feature was its head, which wasn't human at all and instead was that of an orange-colored fox with both eyes shut while crescent scars ran over them. Hey, looking awesome as always. Sigh, too bad all of it would be going away after today. The fox hybrid said to himself before facing the waterfall with a cocky look. He closed his left hand as if gripping an invisible katana. High-speed cast. With those words his body soon started glowing with green energy. Air slash. Katana. He roared while moving his left hand to slash upwards, splitting the waterfall in the middle. Soon after, the entire area was showered by small water droplets, temporarily creating a small rainbow in the process as well. Naruto smirked as he balled his hand into a fist. Hell yeah, still got it. He then used his other hand to pull up a game menu. After pressing on the inventory icon and scrolling through the item list, he soon pulled out a red ring with a certain guild's emblem on it. I wonder if Momonga is still around, he pondered. Knowing him, he probably wants to stick around till the very end. Naruto said with a smile before getting ready to transfer to the base of his old guild. Should surprise him that I am here as well. XXXXXXXXXXXX meeting room of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. XXXXXXXXXXXX. Sigh. I wish Hiro could have stayed to chat some more, a large talking skeleton said to itself sadly. This was Momonga, an undead necromancer and the leader of one of the strongest guilds in Yggdrasil, Ainzul Gown. He wore an elaborate, jet-black academic gown adorned with golden and violet edges. He also had a dark red orb floating under his ribs that emanated a feeling of dread. To complete the look, two tiny, glowing red dots were ominously radiating from the inside of his empty eye sockets. Momonga looked at the empty seats of the other 40 members of his guild and sighed in resignation, feeling tired and saddened by the loneliness of his empty meeting room. He too will have to leave soon. Suddenly, a bright flash appeared in the middle of the huge room and after it faded, a grinning, orange-furred humanoid fox creature was left standing on top of the meeting room table. Ladies and gentlemen, announcing the arrival of the most badass and awesome player in all of Yggdrasil. Give it up for Naruto Uzumaki. The fox exclaimed loudly while repeatedly bowing in every direction. The NPC maids placed around the meeting room started clapping loudly at Naruto's arrival, even though their expressions remained blank due to their limited AI. May curses befall upon the shitty devs for not giving NPCs more elaborate expressions. Naruto. Momonga exclaimed in surprise and quickly stood up from his seat. The blonde looked at the talking skeleton with a kind look and smiled sheepishly. Hey there, Momonga, missed me much? The skeleton climbed on top of the meeting table and with haste moved closer to his friend. Although the face did not show it, the undead being was very happy to see him. You came, he said with a wide smile. Well, since the undead's expression couldn't change, a happy face emoting appeared next to the skeleton's head to express his happiness. But didn't you say that you would not be able to make it since you had too much work? Momonga asked while a confused emoticon face appeared next to him. It's the last day before the game shuts down, of course I would come back for one last run. Naruto replied with a friendly smile. Anyway, work is done, for now, so I came to say goodbye. He then jumped off the table and started moving around while fondly patting the chairs surrounding it. Wow, I can still clearly remember the many meetings we had here. Yeah, it brings back a lot of good memories. Well, since it is our last day, might as well spend it at the seat of our power. What do you say? Momonga suggested. Sure, I always liked how awesome the throne room looks like. The beast ninja said, before realizing something. Hey, since the game is ending, mind if I look more human? The skeleton moved his bony finger to his chin and after thinking for a bit, nodded in agreement. Sure, I don't have a problem with that. Naruto's hair and head glowed a bit as it changed shape and form into the same one he had back in the real world, with some exceptions of course. Phew, much better. Still feels weird every time I do that. It's like I'm doing plastic surgery on my face over and over again. Although, too bad it's not a full change. Naruto groaned while poking at his remaining fox ears. It sucks that I can't transform these away. At least the girls in the guild love these things. Haha, it's not that bad. The walking undead tried to comfort his friend. Well, whatever. It's the last day anyways, so I'll let it slide. Naruto shrugged. I'll go to my room to check on my stuff for one final time and meet you at the throne room afterwards.
Naruto then quickly walked through the guild halls and along the way he passed a room designated as cafeteria.
It was filled with maids standing around the dining tables and various cooking equipment. While he was still confused as to why the guild required a cafeteria since none of them could actually eat, but nonetheless, he can fully appreciate the amount of detail his fellow guildmates put into their work. He stopped at the entrance of the cafeteria and smiled at the NPC maids. "Good work as always, ladies." He joked, knowing that they weren't going to reply to him. He then wondered if she was still around. Opening up the menu page, he quickly got Ains on the line. "Hey Momonga, since we left the management of guild protocols to you, do you know where my NPCs are?" "Alright, most of the NPCs you made are doing scouting procedures just as you have designated them to do since the last time you were here. Since it's not too far from the guild, I let them do what they're supposed to do," Momonga said on the other line. "I see." Naruto pondered. "I guess we can call them all back. Do you mind sending out the message?" "No problem. Better hurry up and get down here quick. It's almost time for the server to shut down." Naruto nodded to himself as he quickly entered his old room and saw the many weapons and items he had stored over the course of the game. Man, can't believe all of this is gonna go away. There stood the 10 best weapons that he and his closest friends from the guild had created. Each one made for Naruto for special reasons. Well, it was more like Naruto was begging them to make these weapons in exchange for owning them favors. Back when the guild first started creating its own items, Naruto wasn't as experienced as other members and didn't know how to create powerful, but balanced weapons. The guild members agreed to help him out with the condition that he would be the one to gather all the required materials. At first, it was a bit of a hassle as the materials were either rare and hard to come by, or they were quite common, but the huge numbers that were required meant long hours of non-stop grinding. But in the end, it was well worth. Each time a weapon was made, it made Naruto feel like a special connection was made with the guildmate that helped him. He tapped on each weapon and watched as magical seals appeared around them. He then brought up the item description tab and carefully read through the weapon's info. When he reached the last weapon, Naruto paused. The last weapon was a katana, although one wouldn't be able to recognize it at first glance since it was covered in thousands of small, almost thread-like chains, leaving only a portion of the sheath free in its handle as well. The first ever item to be made with a world item by our guild, it was also the last weapon I asked to be made for me. Still haven't gotten around to naming you. Naruto gripped the sheath and watched as the small chains coiled themselves around his arm. Guess that won't be happening now. After making sure he didn't miss anything, he finally left the room. With a clumsy smile, he was prepared to see this game's ending. XXXXXXXXXXXX, the throne room of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. XXXXXXXXXXXX. The best icy wine available in the game. Naruto commented before taking a sip from the wine bottle. Refreshing. He said in appreciation and glanced at Momonga standing next to him. Not drinking? No thanks. I figured I'd rather avoid bad status effects from the game alcohol, especially since the game will end soon. Besides, I'm an undead, remember? If this was real, the liquid would go through my bony neck. Momonga declined politely. Also, you do know that it is impossible to get drunk in this game, right? We can't even taste anything. The way you keep pretending that these drinks are real sometimes make me wonder if you get drunk before you log into the game. Momonga commented, only to sigh in annoyance a moment later when he heard Naruto fake burp out loud. This blonde bastard sure knows how to grate on people's nerves when he wants to. So, how are things at work? I got 20 different requests at the same time, Naruto sighed before taking another sip from drink. Don't get me wrong, the business is great, it's just that my cute secretary had to book all of them at once, and you know what the worst part of is? She did it again. We already barely made it in time to complete the orders. And now, we will have to do it again after vacation. The guys are going to skewer me. Ouch, you have no idea, dude, Naruto said and then looked at the clock display to see how much time was remaining. Man, it sucks that I was the only one who showed up for the end. It would have been nice for Touch Me, Tabula, and the others to at least send goodbye messages. I know, but the others had to leave due to personal reasons. Momonga reasoned, although he was feeling really sad for not being able to see his friends for one last time. Well, at least you got me. Naruto raised his bottle after standing up. Sit on the throne of this guild and let's take one last picture. Let's share one last moment of awesomeness. I can do that. Momonga nodded as both of them went to the guild throne and the undead king sat on it in the most epic way. Afterwards he brought up the game menu and switched it to camera mode. Stand by, Naruto ordered as the NPC combat maids, Pleiades, went to the sides of the throne room along with the NPC butler, Sebas. All those raids and battles, and instead of going out with a bang, we go out with a womp womp. The fox hybrid said as he sat next to Momonga on the floor. Still, if there's ever going to be Yggdrasil 2 or something similar, be sure to hit me up and I'll join your next team. I'll definitely do that. Momonga said after getting the camera ready. Okay Naruto, smile. Naruto did just that as he smiled widely with one of his eyes closed and made a peace sign. Click. Perfect picture. Naruto chuckled. Like always, Momonga agreed. He then looked to the side and noticed Albedo standing not too far from the throne. He remembered how Tabula claimed that she was one of the best NPCs he had created and decided to take a look at her bio. After finally reaching the end of it, he could only sigh in disappointment at his guildmate's bad sense of humor. He had put so much detail into her, only to make her a bitch. Since the game is ending, he might as well modify the description a bit and use the staff of Ains Ulgaun to gain administrator access to her programming. By the time he was finished, it was close to midnight. Naruto lifted his head and turned to his leader. I guess, this is the end. You can log out if you want. I'll stay here until the last second, Momonga offered. No way, we're both gonna see through end together, and not just as guildmates, but as best friends as well. Naruto said resolutely while smiling at the undead.
Well, alright then, Naruto, thank you, Momonga replied gently. It felt nice to have someone you can call a true best friend.
Both of them then closed their eyes and waited. 23 hours 59 minutes and 57 seconds 23 hours 59 minutes and 58 seconds 23 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds 0 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds xxxxxxxxx 0 hours 0 minutes and 1 second. 0 hours 0 minutes and 2 seconds 0 hours 0 minutes and 3 seconds 0 hours 0 minutes and 4 seconds. Naruto yawned as he moved his hands to remove the gaming headset on his head. Weird, he didn't remember putting on a hat when he logged in. Strange. The hat felt as if it was made of fur, which was soft, and also pointy. Deciding to take off the mystery hat, he pulled hard at the pointy ends of it, and barely managed to contain himself from screaming as it felt like he was trying to rip off his scalp. Quickly opening his eyes and jumping up in alert, what greeted him wasn't the usual sight of his gaming room, but the very same throne room before he closed his eyes for the final countdown. He then directed his attention to the side and saw his fellow guild member showing no visible reaction, forgetting that his friend is a skeleton and is incapable of showing them. The hell? He exclaimed and tried to open up the game menu, but there wasn't one popping up. Okay, don't panic, don't panic. I'm sure it's some sort of glitch that occurred when they shut down the servers. Naruto thought to himself. But with each passing second he grew more worried and scared. Okay, what in the hell is actually going on? Oi, Momonga, wake up, snap out of it, Naruto shook his friend. What is it Naruto? Can't you see that I'm thinking about work tomorrow? Momonga groaned. Totally weird to see a giant skeleton do that. Seriously dude. Snap out of it. We have a big problem, Naruto exclaimed while continuing to shake the giant skeleton. Huh? Momonga finally started paying attention as his red beady eyes glowed momentarily. Naruto? What's wrong? Hey, the deadline for the servers is today at midnight, right? He asked as he looked around, and noticed that the status or control screens that he was used to seeing in his normal POV were no longer there. Yeah, why? Momonga asked, in a surprisingly deep and royal-like voice. Look at yourself. What do you see? Naruto asked, before noticing the voice change. And why is your voice so manly now? What's that? The undead king was about to angrily retort until a faint green light suddenly enveloped him. What the? Was that a calming spell? Naruto whispered to himself, knowing the generally useless spell. I'm sorry. What did you want say? Momonga asked, but in a much calmer manner. After hearing his friend's inquiry, Naruto was snapped out of his musings. Look at your field of vision. What do you see? Momonga looked forward and stared into the distance. There was nothing in his field of vision other than what was in front of him. What could be wrong with that? Wait, nothing in his field of vision? Nothing in his field of vision? Nothing in his field of vision. No status, no controls, no nothing, Momonga realized. Exactly. What the hell is going on, Momonga? Naruto cried out while frantically looking around. What's wrong, my lords? The two comically stiffened up upon hearing a feminine voice. The number of female players in the guild could be counted with both hands, so they can easily remember which voice belonged to which female, and this voice was from someone they didn't know. They slowly turned to the side to see no one else except for the female NPC standing before them. The name of this NPC was Albedo, and if someone was asked to describe her in a single word, they would definitely say, perfection. She had waist-length jet black long hair, golden eyes with slits in them, and the face of a goddess. The pure white dress she wore accentuated her hourglass figure perfectly. The two horns sticking out her head did nothing to take away from her beauty, and the dark crow wings behind back made her look like a divine being. Needless to say, she was a beauty that would make even the most stone-cold men drool in desire. "My lords?" she asked again while looking straight at them, but Naruto had this strange feeling that her gaze towards Momonga was much more intense. He also realized that the other NPCs were also staring at them. Gah! Naruto glanced back to see the green glow of a spell calming down his skeletal friend once again. Strangely, the NPCs didn't seem to notice it. Albedo, could you explain what has happened?" The woman looked down in shame. "I am sorry, Lord Naruto, but I have truly no idea on what you mean by that." "No way, the NPCs are talking. They're alive." Naruto wondered. That doesn't make sense. The NPC's limited AI prevents them from taking any action besides the basic ones designed by the shitty devs. They're technically capable of more, but you would have to spend years upon years of careful programming just to make them do something more flexible. Plus, everyone knows that custom-made NPCs are incapable of speech. "Sebas," Momonga said in calm, but firm voice. "Please step out of the tomb and confirm the surroundings of Nazarick. Pleiades maids, please guard the 9th floor. If there are any intruders, deal with them." "Understood, Lord Momonga." Sebas nodded. "It will be done." Yuri Alpha added before Sebas and the maids left to carry out their orders. "Strange, they're recognizing orders that aren't specific to Yggdrasil," Momonga muttered to himself. "That is weird." On a side note, all of our 5 senses are working here as well. Naruto commented before cupping his chin. Wonder what else has changed. I need step out and do some testing. Try to do some experimenting on your end as well." Before his follow player could agree, Naruto already moved ahead. Sure, now, what do next?" the skeleton thought before his eyes landed at Albedo's bountiful chest. "Well, Naruto did say to do some experimentation, right? Albedo? Could you come over here for a bit?" XXXXXXXXXXXX 6th floor of the Great Tomb XXXXXXXXXXXX. Whoa, Blue Planet did an incredible job with the sky effects. Naruto appraised while looking at the beautiful night sky of the 6th floor. Blue Planet was an avid fan of nature, so much in fact that he made the entire floor have a fake day and night cycle. He even added beautiful forests, deserts, jungles, lakes etc. Naruto then looked towards the huge Colosseum-like structure in the desert-like area. The amphitheater. This was where players fought and the golems were set to act as spectators while their guild members watched leisurely from a VIP room. I wonder if they're also there. Naruto thought as he approached the said arena. After taking a deep breath he called out, "Ora, Mare, are you two here?" In response to his loud shout, a large reptile landed before him and sitting on its back were 2 children. One was a tomboyish-looking child with dark skin and pointed ears, signature traits of the Dark Elves. She had golden hair and heterochromia eyes with the left eye being blue and right eye green. She wore reddish-black dragon-scale leather bodysuit covered by a white and gold vest embroidered with the sigil of Ainzul gown. Below it, she had a matching set of white trousers and gold-plated shoes. Around her neck was an acorn necklace that emitted a faint golden light. She was also equipped with a whip around her waist and a giant decorated bow on her back. The other young child also possessed dark skin and pointed ears, had golden hair and heterochromia eyes, but in his case the right eye was blue and the left eye was green. He wore a blue dragon-scale leather full bodysuit, covered by a white and gold vest embroidered with the sigil of Ainzul gown and a forest green leaf cloak. Below, he had a matching short white skirt exposing his thighs, and around his neck was an acorn necklace emitting faint silver light. His slender hands were donned with shiny white silk gloves and he held a twisted black wooden staff. The 2 children were Ora Bellafiora and Mare Bellofiori, twin guardians of the 6th floor created by Bukubuku Shigama. "Greetings, Lord Naruto." They greeted their master dutifully and with childlike joy. Naruto by instinct almost patted their heads, until he realized that they were probably older than he was and he also felt afraid that it might have been insulting to them. Most of his friends in the guild did like making odd contradictions on their characters. Take the Dark Elf twins for example. They were created by Bukubuku Shigama who made both of them crossdressers. "Have you two been behaving?" Naruto asked while walking up to them. "Has anything felt strange or different?" What is my lord talking about?" Ora asked with a confused expression. "Everything is still the same." "Really? Nothing feels different whatsoever?" Naruto asked again as the twins looked at each other and shook their heads perfectly in sync at the question. The fox hybrid could only cup his chin in slight wonder. It seems that the NPCs haven't noticed a change in anything. "Well, whatever, do you guys want to help me with some training exercises? I need to test out a few things." Like what, Lord Naruto?" Mare asked. "Well, I just need to work out for bit, been out of the game for a long time, so to speak." Naruto said while choosing his words carefully in case something could trigger them. Aura nodded dutifully as she pointed at the Colosseum. Sure, we were heading there anyway, she said before bowing to Naruto. Of course, you lead the way my lord, she said before grabbing her brother's head and forced him to bow as well since all he was doing was standing and staring blankly. Naruto didn't mind that though as he walked towards the amphitheater with the dark elf twins following close behind. Well, more like Aura was somewhat forcing Mare to follow. Once they entered it, Naruto took in the sights. It was a large arena surrounded by several layers of auditorium.
This oval complex had a length of 180 meters on its long axis, a width of 150 meters on the short axis as well as being 40 meters tall in height. It was modeled after the Colosseum of the Roman Empire and the audience would have consisted of numerous golems that acted as spectators, but as of now it was empty. The sky shown in the Colosseum could change depending on the time of day, even showing an actual sun with the appropriate daylight effects.
There was also the VIP lounge, a 6-story complex where members of Ain Zul'Gaon would sit and oversee the invaders of Nazarick fight for their lives at their leisure. Naruto wasn't sure whose idea was it, but the main reason it came to fruition was that someone once made an offhand joke about a famous site in Rome. Yep. Same as before, Naruto noted as he scanned the area and looked up at the fake sky. Blue Planet Sand's sky is intact too. Looking at the sky, Naruto was again reminded on how much his guildmate was obsessed with nature. Then again, who could blame him? The real world was so polluted that it was almost unbearable.
The real world, the one he was reborn in, was incredibly polluted and the fact that the government was very corrupted didn't help as well. Almost all of government decisions were made not by politicians, but by major corporations, big shots that were backing them. Naruto had a theory that the said corporations knew that the planet is pretty much screwed, but simply didn't care and wanted to milk both the planet and the human population for all it's worth before everything goes to hell. But all of that didn't stop Naruto from doing what he could to make himself a better life. That was the main reason why he had a small, but well-trained group of builders who were equipped with the best hazmat suits money could buy. They could work for long hours outside in the polluted world without having to fear of suffocating when stepping into a dangerous zone, which same couldn't be said for the other companies who bought mass-produced equipment which was prone to fail even on first-time use. It wasn't cheap to get the best equipment available and Naruto had used up all of his life savings when buying them, but it paid off big time. With the advanced hazmat suits, recycling and processing machines, Naruto and his crew ventured into various danger zones to gather and recycle materials that can be used for building and craftsmanship. They still had to be extremely careful though, since nowadays craftsmanship has become a dangerous field of work. If a single scratch or tear goes through the suit, a person could become bedridden for days in the best-case scenario. When his team had successfully completed their very first order, it felt like they had won a major battle from an ongoing war, and the victory came with great rewards. While the money received wasn't that great, but the fame that came afterwards most certainly was. The very first client spread the word about a small company of craftsmen that dared to venture out into dangerous areas to gather materials and create high-quality items. The word had spread fast and since then the company had a steady stream of orders coming in. With all the money made, Naruto and his colleagues were able to purchase good apartments and still had enough leftovers to actually indulge themselves. For Naruto, of course, the extra pocket money went to the gaming set and Yggdrasil. Still, he never allowed himself or his co-workers to take it easy during the job. Despite all of the success, all of it could be easily taken away by a simple mistake made while working in a highly polluted environment. Naruto also often felt sad during work because of how much of nature was destroyed. It always hit him even harder when he would remember how beautiful elemental nations were and the connection with nature he once had as a sage. So needless to say, Naruto can understand a bit of Blue Planet's obsession to see the blue sky. Naruto used to see it regularly in his old life, and now he felt bad for taking it for granted. Before the fox hybrid could contemplate on his thoughts further, a flickering portal opened up and Momonga stepped out of it. "Oh, Momonga," he greeted. "Did you find out anything? Why'd I get this strong feeling that you were ashamed of something?" "Crap. You can sense it," the skeleton shouted out before the calming spell kicked in, making him stoic once again. I'll tell you in a moment. I see that Aura and Mare are here with you." "Yes, Lord Momonga." The tomgirl saluted while her brother tried to hide behind Naruto. "Mare, pay your respect to Lord Momonga." "It's quite alright, in fact I want to do a little experiment. Aura, Mare, mind fighting something of mine while I talk to Naruto?" the undead inquired. "Of course." Aura quickly agreed with a big smile on her face. Taking out the staff of Ain Zul'Gaon, he pointed it at the open area. "Summon, Primal Fire Elemental," he called, making a red gem attached to the staff glow. A tower of fire exploded from underground, soon taking shape and form of the said elemental.
Huh, I thought they would look bigger than that. Naruto said offhandedly as Momonga moved towards him. So, why the shame? I kind of groped Albedo's breasts. He said truthfully since it's best not to lie to Naruto. The fox bastard somehow could always tell when he is being lied to, even when in the game. Of course, since Momonga is now technically a fully undead skeleton and doesn't have a face, maybe he cool. Huh. Well, I do remember that she had a setting added to make her a bitch, so it shouldn't be too much out of character for her, right? Naruto chuckled as remembered how he helped Tabula make Albedo by hunting down some of the rare materials he needed to create her. During the creation process itself, Naruto remembered taking a peek at her settings. Actually, before the game was shut down, I might have, accidentally, on a small miscalculation, have done something to Albedo that changed her views on me. Well, I can't really blame you. The game was shutting down, so messing with some settings isn't that big of a deal. So, what did you change? Naruto inquired with a smile, but the dark aura behind it made it clear that it is hiding a sinister intent. Well, Momonga shifted around uncomfortably. Look, if it makes you feel any better, I promise not to get mad, too much. Naruto said before looking through his inventory for something off. Momonga took a step back in slight fear as the blonde took out what looked like a makeshift baseball bat and leaned it against the wall. So, I will now ask again. What did you change? I might have set Albedo to be completely in love with me. Wham! It broke. Naruto sighed as he slammed the baseball-looking object down against the skeleton's head with all his force, only for nothing happened as Momonga simply stood there while shaking cowardly, with bits and pieces of the broken object surrounding him. Damn passive skills. He chucked the broken part behind his back, bonking the fire elemental on the head and making it confused for a moment. I'm sorry, Naruto. The skeleton stuttered while the passive calming spell was working in overdrive to keep his emotions in check.
Sigh, what's done is done. Just promise me that you will not fret over what you did too much. We both know how often you like to overthink and blow things out of proportion. The fox ninja stated as he knew how the poor overlord at times blamed himself too hard if he believed that he made his friends upset or hurt in some way. Even when he wasn't at fault at all.
Lord Momonga, Lord Naruto, did you see that? Aura asked happily as she and Mare ran towards the two lords, albeit tired, but still enthusiastic. Yes. Yes, I did. Good work, you two. Momonga nodded. Here. He reached into a pocket dimension and pulled out a glass pitcher and two glass cups. He gave them one each and poured water into them, which they gladly drank. Also, here, take these. They may be rare, but you guys deserve it. Naruto passed them 2 bags of the rare Hassan's chocolate valentine which he received during the one-time collaboration event with FGO. Be sure to enjoy them.
Oofa, they look so yummy. Aura exclaimed with her eyes sparkling.
Thank you, Lord Naruto and Lord Momonga, Mare said and opened the bag. His eyes also began sparkling when he saw all the tiny chocolates he can choose from. You know, I thought you would be more scary, Lord Momonga. Aura commented before looking at Naruto. And I thought you were gone forever, Lord Naruto, just like the others. The young elf muttered the last part silently. She was glad that besides their great ruler, another one of the supreme beings decided to stay with them. Oh, Momonga spoke with an amused tone. I could be more scary if you like, the overlord stated, trying his best to sound as evil as possible while the female elf quickly shook her head. No way. I like the way you are right now way better, she quickly protested while Mare looked at Naruto with a shy look. Something wrong? He asked, moving towards the boy with a kind smile. The cross-dressing male shook his head. And not at all, I'm just happy to see you again, my lord. It's been so long since we saw any of the other supreme beings here. He stopped as he felt Naruto's hand pet him gently on the head, comforting his very soul by such a mere gesture. Mare could only smile bashfully at him as the boy was delighted to have the kindest supreme being at their side once more. Oya? I'm the first one here? A boastful, yet elegant voice was heard as another portal opened up to reveal a female floor guardian. She was a vampire of short stature and had the appearance of a buxom 14-year-old girl. Described as a true beauty, she has pale shiny skin, seductive crimson red eyes, and fine facial features. Her silver hair is tied in a ponytail through a large ribbon on top of it all, allowing others full view of her face. She wore a soft black evening dress with a big heavy skirt, and on her upper body she wore lace-embellished ribbon and a short tailored jacket. Her hands were donned with long lace gloves, exposing none one bit of skin. While her breasts may appear to be big, they are actually fake, and her real breasts are almost completely flat. One could say they are a cup at best. She covers this up by using an excessive amount of breast pads. This Draculina was none other than Shultir Bloodfallen, floor guardian of the 1st, 2nd, and third floors, created by Pararanchino, and by extension a bit by Naruto. I.e. he assisted in getting the needed materials. Well, if it ain't Shultir. Naruto quickly recognized her. My, not only do I get to see the personification of beauty that is Momonga, but also the personification of my desires, Lord Naruto. She swooned, her cheeks slightly dusting red while her face was alit with joy from seeing another supreme being that stayed with them besides Momonga. Shultir. Why don't you give it a rest? Aura sighed exasperatedly at sight of the vampire clinging onto Naruto like a tramp. Wait, was she sniffing him as well? Che. Shultir scoffed in annoyance before smirking at the young elf. Oh? What's this? I didn't expect a child to be here, truly, Mare. How can you stand being saddled with such a burden of an older sister? Like you're one to talk when it comes to your fake boobs. Aura fired back hotly. Oh, it's on now. How dare you? My breasts are amazing. Unlike your flat chest. Shultir pointed while blushing once more, but this time out of embarrassment. True, but I'm only 76 years old. I still have room to grow. Unlike your undead body which can't grow anymore. Aura shrugged. I bet the reason you took so long to get here was because you were busy putting more stuffing into that fake chest of yours. Why you little? Shultir snapped and the two of them started bickering comically.
Just like Pararanchino-san and Bukubuku Chigama-san, always arguing. Naruto sighed as his skeleton friend nodded agreement.
It's scary on how dead on it is. The overlord commented with crossed arms. What a ruckus, a loud gruff voice complained, making everyone turn to see an enormous being of 2.5 meters. It had the appearance of an insect walking on 2 feet, a fusion between a mantis and an ant. The creature possessed a tail that was twice as long as his height and was covered in sharp spikes like icicles. His strong jaw looked like it could easily snap bones with a single bite. 2 of his hands were holding a silver halberd, while the remaining 2 hands held a mace emitting black light and a crooked-shaped sheath which seems to be for a broadsword. Finally, his shoulders and back looked like uplifted icebergs. Each time he deeply exhaled it looked he was breathing out arctic cold air. This was Kokaitis, guardian of the 5th floor and the creation of warrior Takamikazuki. Kokaitis, good to see you. Naruto acknowledged, remembering the insect as one of the few NPCs that he would take with him during difficult material farming events and when he needed a heavy hitter to back him up when his guildmates weren't around. Lord Naruto. Kokaitis greeted. I had thought you would not return. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot lately. You came, Kokaitis. Momonga nodded approval. I always answer the summons of my lords. Kokaitis bowed to them.
Everyone, I apologize for the wait. Another voice was heard and they all turned to see the owner of it walking not too far behind from an approaching albedo.
He was a demon with dark skin and nicely combed black hair. He wore round glasses and behind them were eyes so squinty that they weren't normally visible. His pair of eyes lacked eyeballs, in fact, shining jewels with numerous small cuts took the place of his eyeballs instead. Wearing a British suit with a tie, he is dressed like a gentleman. Behind his back is a silver tail, covered with metal plates and 6 long spikes at the end. This was Demiurge, guardian of the 7th floor, created by Albert Alon Odal. Oh, this is a surprise. I didn't expect Lord Naruto to return. Heya. Naruto greeted casually as the demon man gracefully crossed one arm across his chest and bowed respectfully in return. I guess most of the guardians are here? Yes. Gargantua remains deactivated and victim is unable to attend. Albedo explained. Now then, everyone. To our supreme leaders, the ritual of fidelity. She said firmly before all of the gathered floor guardian knelt on one knee with a hand placed over their hearts.
The guardian of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors, Shultir Bloodfallen. I bow before the supreme ones.
The guardian of the 5th floor, Kokaitis. He said as cold steam came out of his mandibles. I bow before the supreme ones. The guardian of the 6th floor, Ora Bellafiora, she said and her brother added. Also the guardian of the 6th floor, Mare Bellofiori, then both of the finished in unison. We bow before the supreme ones. The guardian of the 7th floor, Demiurge. I bow before the supreme ones. And I, Albedo, overseer of the guardians of the great tomb of Nazareth, bow before the supreme ones. She said. Other than the guardian of the 4th floor, Gargantua, and guardian of the 8th floor, Victim, all of the guardians have come here before you. We offer our complete loyalty to you. Thank you all for coming. Raise your heads. Momonga ordered while releasing a black aura. Naruto always wondered why his friend liked putting on the act of an evil overlord, but it would be best to act normal as they did back in the game. He'd rather not fight all of these insanely powerful NPCs without his best equipment on hand. Now then, on to the topic at hand. For some reason the Great Tomb of Nazareth has been caught up in an unknown situation. Sebas, can you tell us what you saw outside the tomb? Of course. As per Supreme Ruler's orders, I scouted outside of the Great Tomb and have discovered that we all have been transported from our great swamps to a foreign grassland with flat fields as long as several kilometers around us, Sebas informed. No sign of humans, monsters, or any settlements within range whatsoever? Naruto asked, remembering the basics of surviving in a foreign territory that he had learned from his teachers back in his old life. Not within the immediate range, but after using a few low far sight spells I was able to spot signs of civilization. Fortunately, they're far enough away that we won't draw attention, Sebas added. I see. Mare, is there a way that we can blend Nazareth within our surroundings? Momonga asked the young elf. I could use my magic to create false hills around us and place us within a hill, Mare offered. You would dare spread dirt over the glorious walls of Nazareth? Albedo growled, looking as if she was about to pounce on her prey at moment's notice. Albedo, Momonga quickly spoke up, no need to make unnecessary remarks. Forgive me, my lord. I was careless, she apologized instantly. Both Momonga and Naruto could only sweat drop at how quickly she can change her demeanor. Mare, can it be done? Momonga inquired. Yes, although, Mare nodded, but then became a bit unsure in her suggestion. I understand. Having one large hill would stand out too much. Momonga nodded in understanding before looking at the butler. Sebas, are there any hills in the area? None, my lord. The area is barren. We are completely isolated, Sebas answered. I see. The skeleton muttered. Then just make more. Naruto suggested. I often seen landscapes that did have either a single or more hills in them. While I admit it isn't the best way of hiding from prying eyes, but until we can come up with a better solution, it will do a better job than doing nothing at all. He explained his reasoning and the undead skeleton man nodded in agreement. We can also use some illusion magic as well to make the scenery appear more natural. Considering our current situation, those are valid ideas. Demiurge, Albedo, I have a task for you both. Momonga faced the two guardians. Yes, my lord? Both of them bowed at the same time. I want you two to work with the other floor guardians in our intelligence department to build a stronger information gathering network as quickly as possible and to fortify our defenses. As you command. Demiurge bowed deeper. Finally, before you leave to your assigned duties, I would like to ask each of you, what kind of being am I to you all? He stated his question and turned to the true vampire. First, Shultir. Crystallizations of beauty, the most beautiful creature in the world. Shultir answered while blushing. Cocytus. Stronger than all of the guardians, a king worthy of being the absolute ruler of the Great Tomb of Nazareth, the warrior answered proudly. Aura. Merciful, as well as someone who excels in foresight, the female dark elf answered excitedly. Mare. Caring and compassionate to those who stand beside them, the male dark elf answered while bowing. Demiurge. A being who makes wise decisions and acts upon them efficiently, someone that not even God could hold a candle to. The very personification of the word, inscrutable. The devil stated firmly. Sebas. The head of all the supreme beings and a merciful leader who stayed behind until the end. The butler answered while bowing in respect. And lastly, Albedo. The ones who rules over all of us. The ones who stayed behind and continued to be the most supreme being. And the man who I'm in love with. Albedo replied hotly while blushing extremely at the last part. I see, Momonga stuttered. Ahem. And what of Lord Naruto? He asked as the blonde hybrid raised his hands in panics.
Whoa, don't push me into the spotlight like that.
Shultir was all too eager to be the first one to speak up once more. Lord Naruto is the embodiment of every woman's desires and someone I love with all of my being, she said in the same manner Albedo did with Momonga. Aura glared at the flatboard of a vampire. I see him as a great warrior and a loyal and kind master to us all. A being who can handle any ambush and trickery, from even the strongest opponents. Someone who can never back down. The ice-clad insect stated respectfully to the ninja. A paragon of virtue to us servants who were deemed worthy of serving him, Mare said with a small smile on his face. Demiurge spoke up next while smiling excitedly at the man. A being of the most unpredictable nature and someone who possesses same great intelligence as our supreme ruler does. A merciful and fair supreme being who is not afraid to enforce justice. Sebas finished last with a shadow of a smile and a bit more emotion in his words. I have heard all of your thoughts and accept them. Continue working faithfully in our names, Momonga declared before he and Naruto teleported away to a hallway that led to the throne room, and a moment later he started pacing around the hall. What is with their glorious views of me? Momonga panicked before the calming spell took over. Gahahahaha. Naruto could not help but laugh excitedly after hearing the floor Garadian's description of him, and totally missed Momonga's cry of despair. XXXXXXXXXXXX back at the Colosseum XXXXXXXXXXX after the Supreme Beings left, the remaining floor guardians started chatting among themselves, discussing future plans and the best ways to please their rules. But it wasn't long before they heard a strong, refined and elegant voice speak up. HMPH, seems I missed the Lord's speech. The overseer of the tomb frowned before greeting the new arrival. Oh, lady. The woman lifted her hand. Stop, she interrupted, causing Albedo to frown even more while the others turned to face the woman. Some were smiling happily at her presence. I only came here to check if Naruto has indeed returned. Albedo's frown turned into an intense glare that was shared among some of the other guardians. Such insolence. I strongly suggest that you address them as lords. Do not forget your station. Instead of getting angry, the woman remained calm. It seems that you are the one who forgot that I have the same level of authority as you do, Albedo. I was created to view all supreme beings as equals, with not one of them standing above the other. The woman replied while Demiurge nodded earnestly at her words. Yes, that is why Lord Naruto created you, to ensure that his and other supreme beings' goals are upheld in his absence. The demon stated with a large smile. I do admit your status does irk me at times, but your work ethic and dedication to your duties for the sake of our masters is truly awe-inspiring. HMPH, the woman hummed before turning to the only member of the group that was still bowing after the supreme beings left. What is wrong with Shultir Bloodfallen? Pardon me, it seems that my underwear had been dampened after being in Lord Naruto's presence after such a long time, she said with a faint blush. You filthy bitch! Albedo shouted. Bitch? Shultir exclaimed before a smirk came across her face. Sorry, Albedo. But to me, if any woman doesn't get wet from that, she must be starving. Like you're one to talk, you lamprey. Albedo crossed her arms to give off a haughty look. Keep flapping those fangs, see where it gets you. You will be never good enough for Lord Naruto. He deserves a woman of a higher caliber, just like how I am to Lord Momonga. I think we'll leave the women to you, Aura, Demiurge said, before the male guardians started to take off. Wait, Demiurge. You're leaving me with them? Aura started to panic and pointed at the woman who came recently. She's the one who. I only keep the order. The woman stated while lifting her head in a noble-like manner. I do not settle childish disputes over childish reasons. I shall return to my other duties. If it gets bloody, I'll intervene. Demiurge waved off before moving towards the woman, striking up a conversation with her. I still have no clue as to why women fight like that. Cocytus commented. Seriously, is this really something worth fighting over? Cocytus. You are not helping, Aura exclaimed. Personally, their vitriol aside, I'm interested in seeing the results of their dispute for myself. Demiurge admitted. Huh? What do you mean? Mare questioned. Think about it. The supreme beings should have heirs. No, Lord Momonga has stayed with us until the end and Lord Naruto was away for a long time. I remembered the other supreme ones talking how he had duties of high importance to attend to and rarely visited. After he returned I figured that he was done with them. But what if Lord Naruto and even Lord Momonga leave this place just like the other supreme beings did? It would be nice if they would leave behind descendants we could pledge our fidelity to. You mean, one of them could be a wife of one of the supreme beings? Mare asked while Aura turned 55 shades of red in the span of a second as she thought of the possibility of being a wife too. What kind of blasphemy are you spouting? Cocytus snapped, having a hard time understanding the devil's words. Think about it. Wouldn't it be nice to pledge our loyalty to Lord Momonga's and Lord Naruto's descendants too? Demiurge questioned. Pledge ourselves to their descendants? Cocytus inquired, clearly confused. But then it hit him. That would actually be nice. No, it's wonderful. What a wonderful situation. He shouted out as he was now in his own world imagination. Ah, and I'll be called Uncle Cocytus, and they would be riding on my shoulders sometimes, and I would have the honor of teaching the children of the ones who I respect the most, lifting his arms up high while imagining the children of both Naruto and Momonga cheering him to lift them up. By the way, Mare, why are you dressed as a girl? Demiurge asked, taking a gander at the male elf's clothes. Oh, Lady Bukubku Shigama told me to wear it, saying something about me being an Otoko no Ko, or something like that. Mare explained. Then perhaps all boys in Nazarick should be dressed like that. This is worth looking into. Demiurge pondered. Now then, Cocytus, come back to reality, please. Truly, what a wonderful thing. Yes indeed, Cocytus said bashfully. Good for you. Demiurge replied. Albedo, Shultir, are you two done fighting? Seems like it. But now they're just arguing. Aura sighed as the succubus and the vampire were exhausted from growling and snarling like rabid dogs. Although she could now understand why being a wife of the most powerful beings is a natural response. It was something that was often done in the Elf Kingdom from what she had learned from reading in the Great Library, although, she did wonder why there was a section in the library for the supreme beings called, Secret H Collection, Members Only. Perhaps there was forbidden knowledge in there? Before she could ponder more about it, she heard the female vampire speak up. We decided to finish this another time, Shultir panted. We will call it a draw for now, Albedo agreed while also panting.
I guess the argument is settled, for the moment. Now, don't you have orders to give, Albedo? Demiurge reminded. Yes, of course, Albedo nodded in confirmation after fixing her disheveled dress.
XXXXXXXXXXXX Armory Room XXXXXXXXXXXX 3 days of almost non-stop work went by in Nazarick. Momonga and Naruto took the time to get used to their new bodies and their new abilities based on their race. From what Momonga had learned about himself, even though he took on the magician class, since he's level 100, he should have enough strength to wield a sword, but the fact that he can't wield weapons outside of his class hasn't changed. Not to mention he doesn't feel fear or unease at all with his new form. Maybe he's grown physically as well as mentally? Naruto hummed as he saw the skeleton trying to swing a blade, only for the weapon to suddenly phase out of his hands. So, it looks like I can't be a caster unless the class allows it, and you can't be a warrior as well. Yes, Momonga sighed in disappointment. Well, that limits me as well, despite most of my equipment being rare gacha items that can be equipment due to stats and not classes. These items do give me a bigger variety of attacks, but they are not on the same power level that other classes are specialized in. I've also been thinking, what if this new world doesn't have magic? If they see you or me? Naruto trailed off, cupping his chin at the thought of them being heralded as either gods or demons. It would prove difficult. Momonga agreed. After thinking for a bit, he suddenly came up with an idea. Create greater item. At that point, a white light washed over him. After it faded away, it revealed the undead now fully covered in jet black body armor adorned with purple and golden markings. He also wore a red cape out of respect for Touch Me. Wow, looking pretty nice. Naruto joked while looking at the new black jet armor that looked almost similar to the one Touch Me owned. I can tell that this armor is only a relic class item, but since it was created from your magic and is of a much lower grade, you are able to wear it without suffering class penalties. Momonga took the sword again and this time was able to grab it firmly without it slipping out of his fingers. He then did a test swing, creating a small gust of wind momentarily. Your deduction is correct. If I create a lower grade item out of magic, like this armor, I can use it without class restriction. That sounds awesome, but do take into account that this pure magic armor doesn't get chipped or warped by damage. We gotta make some actual equipment in case we need to look like real mortals and not overpower players. Naruto suggested while the metal-clad skeleton looked at him. You are adapting to this new world situation rather well. I'm surprised. Momonga stated as he wasn't sure how Naruto was able to deal with the sudden turn of events. Momonga can chalk it up to his new uncaring nature as an undead, but Naruto is still technically a heteromorphic being with life. He should have a relatively normal flow of emotions compared to himself. Then again, from what he heard the other guild members talk about him, it seemed Naruto's life was quite hectic since his real-life job was very risky. It wouldn't be too much out of ordinary if the blonde gained strong mental fortitude because of it. Let's just say I get used to strange thing pretty easy. Naruto shrugged offhandedly. Anyways, wanna actually step out of the tomb and see what the new world is actually like? That does sound pretty interesting. Very well then, I shall take up on that offer. The undead stated before leaving the room while still wearing his creation. Using their rings of Ainzul gown, the special rings that allowed them to traverse between the floors of their guild with ease, the two of them teleported to the first floor. As they made their way out, they were suddenly greeted by 3 of the evil lords that guarded the 7th floor. The first was Jealousy, a feminine-looking monster dressed in a tight-fitting bondage outfit with a crow head. The second was Avarice, who wore a full-plate armor that was open at the chest, proudly revealing his abdominal muscles. He possessed 2 black bat wings and 2 horns were protruding from its temples. To some, he might look like a beautiful young man, however, if they looked closely at his eyes, they would notice a cold desire in them that knew no limit. Lastly was Wrath, having the appearance of a fearsome demon with fangs protruding from his mouth and his body covered in scales. He had stout arms and sharp claws, as well as flaming wings and a snake-like tail. Whoa, I thought those were on our side, Naruto said while getting into a fighting stance, but Momonga raised his hand to stop him when he spotted Demiurge among them. My lords, why are you two here? The seventh floor guardian questioned, and that armor. How did he know it was me? Momin thought. No, wait, the only person who can teleport within Nazarick would have a guild ring. Of course he would know. The undead quickly answered. Rez. There's a special reason for it. He explained in a serious voice, even though the two of them just wanted to go out for some fresh air. I see, you wish to inspect Mayor's work yourselves without drawing attention. Very clever, my lords. Demiurge noted. Momin muttered silently. He totally has the wrong idea, Naruto thought. Just how did this devil come up with such an explanation? Yes. Yes indeed. The undead decided to go along with the ruse. And he is using this as an excuse. Well, as long as Demiurge believes it, I guess it's okay. Naruto mentally face-palmed at how ridiculous this situation was. Allow me to accompany you, my lords, just in case. One must not be unguarded when treading into an unknown territory, Demiurge offered. Very well. Momonga agreed after considering it for a moment. You sure? I mean, we can take care of ourselves, you know, Naruto whispered silently. If it's just him alone, I see no harm in that, Momonga replied. Thank you for granting me such a selfish request. Demiurge thanked before standing up, and the three of them began walking out of the tomb. After walking for a bit, they soon spotted the entrance to the great tomb of Nazarick, and beyond the entrance they spotted a faint glow. After passing through the entrance, they were greeted by the sight of a beautiful night sky filled with many bright stars of the cosmos. There were almost no clouds in sight, or harsh weather, only a faint soft breeze and the small lights dancing in the sky. Whoa, Naruto's eyes widened in awe. Even in my wildest dreams I could never image a more beautiful sky than this. He commented as a faint, almost invisible yellow glow covered his body for a moment. After it faded, small, transparent and faintly glowing yellow clouds materialized around his ankles. A moment later, he was slowly lifted off the ground and flew towards the sky. This is incredible. I've never seen so many stars like this, Momonga thought in amazement. The fake sky that Blue Planet San made on the 6th floor was already pretty amazing, but this is even more so. Reaching into his item box, Momonga pulled out a necklace that had a crystal shaped like a wing and wore it around his neck. Fly, he said before flying upwards quickly. Hey, wait up! Naruto called out as the small clouds glowed a bit brighter, making Naruto fly faster in return. Not wanting to be left out, Demiurge exposed his wings and his face morphed into Reptilian One. He then quickly flew up and followed after them. Momonga kept going higher and higher before finally breaking through the clouds. Taking off his helmet, he saw the bright full moon and the stars that glittered about it while overlooking the planet. I wish you could see this, Blue Planet San. This world is beautiful, Momonga thought. Man, it kinda makes feel a little sad that we don't have our friends here to see this. Touch Me would have loved to experience saving others here, while Nishikirai would have loved to explore new places while showing off his fighting style. Naruto smiled sadly while gazing at the stars. This world, this sky, it's almost like a box of jewels glittering, Momonga commented while gazing all around him. I believe this world shines so that you and Lord Naruto can adorn yourselves with its riches, Demiurge said after catching up with them. HMPH, that may be so. Maybe we were brought to this world for that very reason, but it's not something I should hoard all to myself. Nazarick and everyone in Ainz Ul-Gaon should be adorned with this world's riches. Momonga exclaimed after thinking for a bit. Dude, that was so corny. Naruto deadpanned, thinking how the undead is acting like an overlord again and spouting dramatic spiel, but he will admit that it did sound pretty nice, and that it also made him appreciate Momonga as dear friend even more. If you wish it to be so, then we shall use all the forces of Nazarick to obtain it for you. Demiurge bowed deeply. Hey, that does sound pretty exciting, taking all of it for ourselves. Naruto muttered out, while he is not really a bad guy, but after hanging out with a group of players who like to roleplay as the villains for a long time, some things do tended to rub off onto ya. HM, even if we don't know what's out there, Momonga chuckled while looking at the moon. Then again, taking over the world might be interesting. While the two supreme beings were deep in their thoughts, they both failed to notice Demiurge's look of awe at his ruler's goals, not realizing that they were only joking. Still, you think we're the only ones that came here? Naruto wondered. Maybe the others came here too. I do hope so. While I am extremely glad you are here with me, but... Yeah, I know. Naruto waved him off childishly, knowing that Momonga would have wanted the whole guild to be together again. You know, if they are out here in this world, no matter how slim the chance is, we could reach out to them by spreading the name of Ainz Ul-Gaon, right? That might actually work, Momonga agreed while looking towards his friend. It might take long and it might also prove to be fruitless in the end, but if there is possibility that they were also transported here just like us, we definitely have to find them.
Ha, count me in. We'll have to come up with some kind of plan, but for now, this is a start. Naruto nodded with excitement at the idea. They then heard the sound of rumbling from down below and they looked down to see 4 surges of earth rushing towards the walls of Nazarick. Earth surge, he noted. Looks like Mare isn't wasting any time.
Perhaps we should check up on him. Momonga offered. Demiurge, what kind of reward should I give him? I think he would be happy just from being able to talk with you again, the devil suggested. If it's all the same to you too, I'm going to bed, I'm feeling quite tired from the past few days. Naruto said with a yawn and his friend nodded. Don't stay up too late, he waved them off. XXXXXXXXXXXX hallway leading towards Naruto's room XXXXXXXXXXX. Naruto walked down the hallway while cycling through the various weapons in his own dimensional inventory box. Scythe, bows, dual blades, he muttered while making a mental list. Lord Naruto, cling, like a loud pin, the foxman's heartbeat dropped to near 0 when he heard that person. Slowly, almost mechanically, he turned to the source of the voice. KK Kagaya. There stood one of the beings he had defeated before and recreated into this new world. The keeper of knowledge and order within Nazarick, Kagaya Otsutsuki. She was a pale-skinned woman with delicate facial features. She had extremely long, sweeping white hair. She possessed white clear eyes and her eyebrows were cut very short and round. She wore a red shade of lipstick on her lips. She also wore a high-collared hime kimono which had tomo running down the center and the edges. The most noticeable feature were the 2 brown horns that stuck out from her head. While Naruto doesn't claim to have the best memory around, he was still able to recreate Kaguya's appearance almost perfectly. The one thing that he did purposely left out was the 3rd eye she had back in his old life. To Naruto, it simply brought too many bad nightmares when he remembered just how powerful it was when she used it against him. Be at ease, Naruto, she said calmly, you have nothing to fear. What brings you here, Kagaya? Naruto questioned warily after finally recollecting himself when he remembered that she was an NPC that he himself had created. She wasn't the same person as the other Kagaya, but she was still very close to it appearance-wise. She spoke while taking out a tome and opening it. Been gathering information, then archiving and cataloging it. Those are some of duties that you have given me when I was created after all. I have attained a mass of information for you to read and look over, she stated firmly while looking intently at Naruto. Do I have to do that now? Naruto asked while now feeling both weary and incredibly scared. Yes, you do. I have already done this with Momonga. She was interrupted when her eyes suddenly turned blue, and after a few moments they returned back to their original milky white color. Odd, I just received a broadcasted message that Momonga wishes to be addressed as Ains from now on. Ooh, he already thought of the first steps of the plan himself, Naruto said as the woman began to write in her large tome. Making a note of that right now, finished. Now then, onto your schedule. Kagaya said after putting away the pen. She waved her free hand and made a magical, almost transparent clock appear above the book. You have 48 hours to sort through all of the gathered information. 24 if we take away bathroom breaks and sleeping time. She then firmly grabbed his shoulder while a sweet smile graced her lips. And, I do hope that after you left us for such a long you will want to spend as much time as possible with us now that you have returned, right? It was quite rude of you to run away like that when all I wanted to do was to discuss Nazarick's current state of affairs after being transported to this new world. After all, I was only fulfilling the duties that you gave me. Damn. That was an ironclad way of guilt-tripping him. Fiend, let's go, he agreed dejectedly and went towards his room with a sulky walk. With his back turned, Kagaya secretly smiled motherly at him. Despite what she had said, it was truly for his own good that she was pestering him this way. Being the keeper of knowledge and order may be part of her main duties, but being someone who provides guidance and advice was something that Naruto made sure was also of equal importance when he created her, and a small hidden part of her wanted to get back at him for being away for so long. She looked at the cover of her tome and smiled mischievously. Oh dear, this is quite a lot of information to work with. Oh well, it's not like he is going anywhere. Wise men say that knowledge is power and infinitely greater than any treasure out there. Oh, how Naruto wanted nothing more than to punch the assholes in the face, twice. Here he was in his room, increasing said knowledge and was just about at his limit's end. There was just so much information that he felt like his head would explode at any moment now. He hadn't felt this stressed since that secretary of his had accepted those 20 jobs all back in the previous world. Are we done yet? Naruto groaned in dismay, his head laying on the desk and looking pale from overwork. Actually, yes, Kagaya smiled motherly at her creator as she started collecting and rearranging the scattered papers across the table into a neat pile. Yai, the blonde moaned as he leaned back into his office chair and sighed heavily in relief. Seriously, the amount of detailed information Kagaya managed to collect was staggering, and it had only been a couple of days since they got transported into this new world. She definitely lives up to her title as the Keeper of Knowledge, a job Naruto himself had assigned to her when created her. Damn him, damn his brilliant past self to hell. And you managed to do it with only 3 meals, 6 bathroom breaks, 2 bowel movements, and 5 meals. You finished looking over the reports 10 hours quicker than I had originally anticipated. Kagaya honestly complimented as she tapped her large tome and made the collected pile of reports vanish from existence. Well, the reports you prepared were easy to understand. It also helped that you arranged the information by level of importance so I wouldn't get confused. Naruto praised while summoning a bottle of wine so he could pour himself and Kagaya a victory toast. Still, who would have thought that Yggdrasil devs had worked with the CyberConnect Corp to add some of the world elements when the very last patch for the game was released? I don't remember them ever making an announcement for that. The blonde whispered to himself. Well, it wasn't really that surprising. A lot of companies, both small and big, had tried to make deals with the creators of Yggdrasil, knowing that the game was reaching players' wallets faster than even the sexiest women at strip clubs. Did you say something? Kagaya inquired. Nah, it's nothing. Anyway, here. Naruto said while offering a wine glass to his most trusted creation. Said creation took the glass, but instead of drinking it, she just stared at it with a slightly confused expression. If I may ask, what is the occasion, Lord Naruto? She inquired, looking back at her creator. Just a small celebration for finally finishing all the work and at how excellent you are in gathering information. So, here's to you. He toasted with a kind smile as the woman happily nodded in acceptance and took a sip of her drink, and grimaced at the taste. Please, I do not deserve such an honor. She tried to protest, although Naruto knew it was mostly due to the drink. You're too modest. You really should. Wait, how long have we been here in this new world exactly? Naruto asked as he realized that despite being a live being, unlike his undead friend, he didn't feel the need to sleep. When he originally wanted to go to sleep before Kagaya had approached him, it was mostly because he felt mentally exhausted. Is it possible that he has a buff similar to Ainz's calming spell, but instead of regulating his emotions, it stops him from getting tired? We've been in this world for almost 5 days now. Kagaya answered him before her eyes flashed silver. Ah, Lord Ainz is requesting for your audience. Upon hearing her words, Naruto sighed as he remembered receiving several message requests from Ainz during the time he was reading the reports. He really wanted to respond to them, but the cold look Kagaya would give him each time he attempted to so make him reconsider against it and instead forced him to get back to work. Damn his brilliant past self again for setting her to be so strict at work. After storing the wine glasses back into the inventory box, the fox hybrid stood up and nodded in understanding. Not wasting any more time, he looked at his Ainz Ulgown ring and teleported straight to his friend's location. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Mamanga, are now known as Ains, paced about his office while waiting for his friend. What is taking him so long? He ranted in his mind. Should I message him again? The exact moment he considered that thought, a small flash of light erupted in the middle of the room, signaling his friend's arrival. Quickly running up to Naruto, Ains began complaining. Where were you? I messaged you like a dozen times and you never replied, he yelled before his calming spell kicked in. Hey, don't blame me. I was stuck with Kaguya, reading over her reports for days. Naruto retorted. Look, I know I dropped the ball and I'm really sorry for that, but do try to understand that for the last 48 hours I was, quite literally, buried in paperwork. Oh, I see. Kaguya is quite dedicated in her duties, isn't she? The undead commented as he glanced back to see Kaguya, who also entered his private office along with Albedo. Both of them bowed respectively at the supreme rulers and then proceeded to stand at the sides of the room. Albedo may be the overseer of the floor guardians, but Kaguya was of an equally high rank and possessed the same amount of authority. The reason for that is because of the roles Naruto assigned to her. Kaguya is the keeper of knowledge and order. Ains remembered reading some of her bio once, with Naruto's permission of course. According to her settings, if a conflict were to ever arise between floor guardians or even the guildmates of Nazarick, Kaguya must act as an impartial judge in resolving the dispute. Because of her karma being set as true neutral, Kaguya is capable of making a fair ruling without discriminating anyone. To be honest, Ains was quite appreciative of that. Almost all of the Nazarick denizens were leaning towards either the bad or good side of karma, so having someone capable of making an unbiased decision was quite comforting. When Kagaya had delivered her first report to him, it almost felt like he was talking to a normal secretary from back home, and her presence provided some form normalcy to their predicament. Yeah, that she is. Naruto nodded in agreement. So anyway, what's up? Ah, right. The Overlord composed himself. You see, while you were, busy, Albedo and I went outside on a scouting mission to explore our surroundings and discover something that could give us clue in what kind of world we ended up in. Interesting. So, is this word like Zero, familiar of Zero, or something else entirely? Naruto asked with a childlike innocence. Ains went slack-jaw after hearing the ridiculous question. A few moments later, he again felt the calming spell's effect wash over him. Sigh, I'm really not sure how to answer that question in a way that would make sense to you, so I believe it's best just to show you what happened during the exploration, Ains stated and summoned an ornate mirror from his inventory. Naruto recognized the item, and if he remembered correctly, this item was called Mirror of Crystal Memories. It might have a fancy name, but it wasn't really that special. Back in Yggdrasil, it was a low-tier cache item that became available after a special art event had been announced. Players with this item could record their progress in the game and later watch video footage of that progress from a third-person point of view. It was a popular item among those who liked recording their gaming sessions and then upload them to the internet. The special art event was actually just that. Players would film themselves, and those whose videos were liked the most would receive special rewards. It was also the only event during which Ain's Ulgaon Guild came out last and only received the participation reward. Damn those shitty devs. They clearly didn't know what true art was. Ains waved his hand in front of the mirror, and after it simmered for a bit, it started showing the undead overlord battling against some humans dressed in strange robes and the angels they summoned. Well, it wasn't actually a battle, but a one-sided slaughter as Ains completely devastated his opponents without putting in much effort. Wait, aren't those archangel flames? Naruto went wide-eyed. And that's a principality of observation too. What are Yggdrasil monsters doing here in this new world? Unfortunately, we don't know, Lord Naruto, Albedo stated as she bowed respectfully at him. Just to be sure, we checked our supplies of summoning items and everything is accounted for. The summoning crystals that these insects used are definitely not of ours. It's not just that, Demiurge also learned that the inhabitants of this world use a similar spell system to our similar to Yggdrasil's spell system. So, it wouldn't be too out of place to use our own magic here, but it seems that 7th tier magic is considered to be godlike, so we shouldn't cast it unless absolutely necessary. That's so weak, 7th tier barely even damages us, Naruto commented lamely. Even as a melee-type fighter, he still had access to few spells from all tiers, but obviously his spell's power could never match up to Ains's. The only reason Naruto learned those spells was simply because he wanted to add more variety into his arsenal. So, who were those guys? They call themselves the Sunlight Scripture, supposedly a religious sect based in a country called the Slain Theocracy. Ains explained. They promote human superiority above all other races, lizardmen, goblins, orcs and the like. Apparently, they were disguising themselves as soldiers of different country called the Bariath Empire and were slaughtering innocent villagers because they were targeting a royal captain from the Re-Estais kingdom. Why they were targeting him is beyond me. Hey, this almost sounds like a beginning of typical adventure quest to save the world. Naruto joked as he placed a hand on his hip. Alright, so what's the plan? We shall hide in plain sight, was all Ains said, while Albedo, Kagaya and even Naruto were shocked at his answer. I'm sorry, what? Naruto blinked in confusion, trying to process his fellow guildmates' thinking. Naruto, if memory serves me right, Takamikazuki and Nishikirai recruited you when you were still guildless, right? The Overlord whispered silently and Naruto nodded in return. Yeah, so? What about it? Naruto inquired further. Probably a month or two after Naruto got into the game, he learned the hard way that non-human players were being peaked without remorse and were basically treated in the same manner mob monsters would be. It's only thanks to the game allowing him to move in almost exactly the same way as in real life, he was often able to avoid higher-level PK players during their hunts for heteromorphs. He was also often able to escape even if PK players did manage to ambush him. Not always, of course, as there were times where he still got killed, but most of the losses were acceptable and he was still able to complete quests and continue grinding for experience. Soon after he had reached level 50, he was approached by two of the melee fighters of his future guild. Both had heard of how Naruto was capable of escaping from dangerous situations set up by PK players, despite him being much lower in level. He even protected some of their friends outside the guild. They offered him a spot in their guild as thanks, and the blonde didn't hesitate in joining Ain's Ulgaon. After joining, Naruto, Ains, Takamikazuki, and Nishikirai often liked taking quests together and would go on long adventures that involved high risks, but equally great rewards. While I really want to find out if there are any other players out there in the new world, maybe even possibly our comrades, we cannot just rush in and start announcing our name to the world. If there are other players out there, there is big chance they might be members from rival guilds. I don't need to remind you that we weren't exactly the most liked guild back in Yggdrasil. Practically anyone who wasn't a heteromorph was our enemy. Naruto nodded at that tidbit. What Ains said was certainly true, and the possibility of a rival guild being transported to the new world just like them cannot be dismissed. It would be even more troublesome if that guild turned out to be one of his prank targets. After Naruto had reached level 100 with the help of his fellow guildmates, he finally had gained enough strength to take revenge against the players who constantly tried to hunt him down. And that revenge came in the form of pranks. He would often repaint rival guild bases in pink color or set up traps at their entrances that would inflict passive status debuff effects, which could only be removed by either completing certain quests or gathering expensive materials. But there were times where Naruto would take it a step further in pranking and actually steal from the enemy players, and out of the many items he had stolen, few of them were actually world items. There is no doubt that if a rival guild had also got transported into the new world, then spreading the name of Ains Ul Gaon would tip off the enemy before Naruto and Ains could establish a proper foothold to defend themselves. Right, good point. Naruto laughed nervously while scratching the back of his head in a sheepish manner. So, how exactly are we doing this? Easy, like in all RPGs, we shall take up arms and write legends that will hail us heroes. Ains chuckled darkly, his finger bones clicking as he did the infamous Gendo pose. Dude, seriously, drop the Overlord act, okay? Naruto sighed as while he was glad to see Momonga happily roleplay his usual hobby, it was getting kind of annoying to try and decipher his words. Ahem, apologies, what I meant to say is that we will become adventurers, Ains clarified. You mean we're actually gonna be taking up quests and act like some sort of heroes? Naruto said while leaning his head back in consideration. Exactly. From what I discovered during the scouting mission, Yggdrasil gold is worthless here since no one would recognize the coin embroidery and believe it to be fake. Another problem is that there are many things that we still don't know about this world. Ains explained. So, joining the Adventures Guild will not only provide us with the means to make money but also gather information as well. What? Albedo exclaimed loudly with a stunned look on her face. No, you mustn't, Lord Ains. It's too dangerous. If you require local currency, let us plunder the world. And in doing so we will alert the beings of this world to our presence, Albedo. Kagaya cut off the overseer while shaking her head negatively. That being said, I do partially agree with Albedo's disagreement. If my lords really wish to join this adventure guild, then please at least consider bringing one of the floor guardians with you. Doing so will not only ensure you are always protected, but will also bring comfort to Nazarick denizens. No matter what, the safety of Nazarick rulers will always be our main priority. I understand your concerns and they are well noted. Ains nodded at Kaguya's reasoning. However, the other floor guardians already have enough on their plates as it is, and soon there will be other tasks that I will want them to fulfill. Which is why Naruto and myself will procure funds ourselves by taking on adventurer quest. We will start from the bottom copper rank, then work our way to iron, silver, gold, mithril, orichalcum, and finally, adamantite. Once we firmly secure our position in this new world, only then will we be able to move forward with our plans. Grinding. Naruto's eyes narrowed in frustration. Weren't long years of grinding back at Yggdrasil already enough? And now he has to do it all over again? At the very least, take some of the Pleiades with you for extra protection. Having a bigger group will also cut down on the workload and time spent rising through the ranks. The white-haired woman suggested while taking out her tome. Because of her duties, Oriole Omega cannot accompany you, but the other maids are free and available. I see, Ains muttered while contemplating the suggestion. I suppose Narberyl Gamma would suffice. You really think so? Naruto argued as he doubted Ains's choice. From the few times he had met her so far, her character seemed kinda indifferent to most things. She was almost like Shino back at the Elemental Nations. I think Lupus Regina would make a better traveling companion. Ains pondered. It was true. Out of all the Pleiades maids, other than Yuri Alpha, she's the friendliest out of all of them, at least when it came to interacting with humans. Although, she does have a bit of sadistic side to her. Something that Naruto doesn't know as he was barely involved in her creation, unlike with most of the other maids. In fact, Narberyl, Intoma, Omega, and lastly, CZ were only created due to Naruto hunting down the materials and weapons needed for their image. Some of those items were even stolen from other guilds. Well, what do you think? Naruto asked a bit impatiently while crossing his arms. He was actually starting to get excited about the whole adventuring thing. I suppose you have a point. Ains nodded. Very well, we'll bring Lupus Regina with us. But I must also insist that we take Narbrul as well. Lupus Regina can sometimes be a bit handful to manage, and we need someone with a calm mind to guide her. Yeah, I suppose. Narbrul is quite level-headed, if a bit pessimistic in nature. Still, there is no doubt she is quite diligent in her duties and will not hesitate to accomplishing the tasks set before her. Naruto agreed after thinking it over. The only thing that might be of concern is her options towards humans, as you know she is quite open about it. Ains noted. Hopefully, Lupus Regina's friendly attitude will overshadow Narbrul's cold attitude when dealing with humans. Albedo, inform the maids about our decision and prepare some armor and disguises for all of us. As you command, Lord Ains. Albedo bowed before leaving. Damn, I should probably take out some of my old tier stuff and go back to using monk style, Naruto muttered to himself, knowing that his main movesets consisted of stealth and elemental attacks like in his old life. He acquired the monk job since it provided decent debuff resistance. It also gave an increase in agility and dexterity, which is especially useful for his main class.
You will also need to somehow hide your fox ears, Ains pointed out.
Rig, Naruto groaned while tugging on the two fox ears. After thinking for a bit, Naruto suddenly came up with an idea. He extended his hand and reached out into his inventory box. After searching for a bit, he pulled out simple, but still a very pretty necklace with a green gemstone in it. Tsunade's necklace, but the rope is made from silver. After putting it on, a small screen appeared displaying several cosmetics options and the gold cost for them. He quickly made his selection and then confirmed it. Not long after, he felt the top of his head glow for a bit and the two fox ears disappeared. Awesome, that still works. He didn't think that the item would still work after such a long time. Interesting, I haven't seen such an item before. What is it called? Ains questioned while stroking his chin in curiosity. It's one of the first low-tier event items I purchased, Illusion Gem. It has a limited capability to change your appearance like hair color and style, ears shape, eyes color and so on. For a while, it used to be a popular item among those who had chosen the human race but wanted to look more elvish or beast-like. The drawback was that you had to pay gold to apply the illusion, and every time you took it off and put it back on, you would have to pay gold for the illusion again. Many players discarded it when they decided it was simply not worth it, and later on a patch was released that added a special shop, where you could purchase appearance changes. Naruto explained while running his hand through his short blonde hair. He also checked his back to make sure his foxtail was also disguised. Maybe you have a spare one? I could definitely make use of it during our adventuring, the undead further inquired. Naruto smiled apologetically in return. Sorry buddy, I only have this one. Plus, it wouldn't be practical in your case since the item can only change one part of your body and the price would keep doubling the more changes you added. Naruto explained and then quickly left the office to prepare for their journey. Great Tomb of Nazarick 1th floor. Tomb entrance After making sure that everything was taken care of in his absence, Ains, along with Narbrul and Lupus Regina, were waiting for their fourth party member at the exit of the tomb. The undead glanced at his two female companions and nodded in approval at their choices in clothing. Narbrul Gamma, an elegant, snow-white-skinned, black ponytailed beauty. She wore brown leather boots, dark trousers, a white tunic, and a brown cloak to complete the common adventure look. But Ains had no doubts that she will still catch the attention of the local populace despite the plain clothes that she wore. Lupus Regina Beta, a brown-skinned beauty with an athletic look and red hair tied in two long braids. Unlike her fellow maid, Lupus Regina wore a long, dark brown skirt with long slits at the sides, revealing thigh-high white stockings and high-heeled leather boots. Instead of a tunic and cloak, she opted to wear a short-sleeved button-up shirt and a dark brown jacket. She still wore her signature hat from her maid outfit, but in the eyes of undead, it definitely didn't take away any of her charms. Hey guys. Sorry for being late. Finally. What took you so long? You're not taking that with us. Ains deadpanned upon seeing Naruto striding towards him, in a cowboy get-up. And definitely not that belt. The red fur eyes glowed furiously as the undead resisted the urge to facepalm. Oh, come on. I spent a lot of gold on this limited-time armor, Naruto said while tipping his head upwards with a metallic left arm. Wearing a red robe over golden-colored armor. The belt is too cool, see? BAMF, badass motherfu. No, if we're really doing this, then we need to try and blend in. So, no cowboys. Ains sighed while massaging the temples of his skull in frustration. One time. I just want to say, It's high noon. In this outfit. Just one time. Naruto whined with comical waterfall tears running down his eyes. Change. Now. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX
Adventure robes. The robes consisted of a light gray long-sleeved hooded shirt with a sleeveless dark brown leather wrapping, trousers, leather calf braces, leather wrap arm bracers, a white sleeveless surcoat, and leather footwear. Imagine Star Wars Merrick's Jedi Adventurer robes. It may look tame compared to what usually players preferred to wear back in Yggdrasil, but it's a relic class armor with decent stats for those who preferred mobility. Well, it's good for my bare-handed combat and stealth skills, Naruto stated after making sure none of the armor pieces were missing. When the full set is completed, the armor gains an active buff that slightly increased stealth skills proficiency and adds a 50% bonus to camouflage and presence concealment when sneaking around during the day. At least it's not the cowboy outfit, Ains huffed as he never understood why Naruto wasted his luck and time on getting so many different armors and accessories for his character. The adventure robes may prove useful for reconnaissance, but he will still stick out among the adventures because of how unique the robes looked. Now come, we have work to do. Yeah, Naruto sighed. Seriously, he is almost never allowed to have any fun when it comes to his own more unique stuff. So, should I come up with backgrounds for all? Ains lifted his hand to quickly stop the blonde. No. I don't believe that will be necessary. Sometimes silence is the best. The undead trailed off after seeing the heroic-looking ninja squatted down with a cloud of depression looming over his head. Perhaps another time. You can do it when we send out other NPCs on solo missions, just please use some restraint when creating backstories. The Overlord begged as he knew Naruto had a pretty wild imagination when it came to designs and storytelling. That was clearly proven when the blonde created his own NPCs. Alright, relax will ya? Naruto rolled his eyes, his mood lifted almost instantly. He smiled when the red-haired werewolf, Lupus Regina, giggled at his reactions before her sister nudged her at the stomach. How can I do that when I know just how wild your imagination gets? Ains snapped before the calming spell took over. Not my fault if you can't handle my awesomeness. Naruto shrugged while watching Ains put on his armor, the same black armor that he used when using Create Greater item. Alright. Is everyone ready? The Overlord asked and waited until everyone nodded in confirmation. Excellent. Now, Narbiriel, transport us to the area I tagged with the marker stone. The undead ordered before fixing his helmet to look forward and give him a more menacing look. Yes, Lord Ains. Narbiriel bowed and then used a spell that caused a magic circle appeared below them. Teleportation. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX
XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX The newly formed adventurer party arrived at the fortress city of Irantel. Thanks to Ains's and Naruto's mental status spells, and Lupus Regina's total concealment skill, the group strolled into the streets without having to stop at the gate's checkpoint. Naruto, do you have your spy's appraisal skill active? Ains turned to speak to Naruto quietly. Spy's appraisal skill is something Naruto unlocked and mastered during his stealing days back in Yggdrasil. Some players, in order to protect themselves from thefts, started placing their treasured items in safes or treasure boxes that had locks coded in a foreign language, and only someone with master blacksmith skill could unlock them. In order to counter that, Naruto started investing in Spy's appraisal skill. It was like a more unique version of a regular appraisal skill, but it had the ability to bypass normal appraisal blocking spells and had a useful future to translate unknown languages. Many considered it to be a useless ability in combat, but one would be surprised at how useful it was in other areas. The shinobi's eyes scanned his surroundings, and almost similar to his old hub, words suddenly came into his view like subtitles. Yeah, it's working. Excellent. We'll have to rely on it for now since we can't read this world's language. Ains sighed in relief. He will definitely have to learn how to read and write in the new language, or at least find some other, more practical methods to translate it. Figured as much, Naruto said while scanning each of the building's signs. I'll try to see if it's possible for you to unlock the tech tree for that skill as well, or at least the basics of it. The blonde commented before pointing at a large building. There, that's the Adventurers Guild. Good, let's go. The leader of the two stated while remembering the process of joining the Adventurers Guild he learned from the villagers he saved back at Carne Village. The group did as ordered and followed after Ains. Along the way, Naruto noticed how many of the local populace was blushing while staring at them. Well, to be more accurate, it was mostly the males that were blushing from how beautiful Narberl and Lupus Regina were. Not that Blonde could blame them, it was only natural. After registering and receiving our copper plates we shall retire at an inn. Momon stated, snapping Naruto out of his thoughts and almost causing him to run into Lupus, not that he would have minded though. Hi, the female werewolf exclaimed cheerfully while raising her hand. Damn, she looked so cute in the blonde's eyes right now, he had to almost forcefully resist the urge to pet her. While walking towards the building, the group discussed under what names each of them wills register. Ains decided to use his old name, Momon, a nickname that his friends gave him once. Narberl followed her lord's example and shortened her name to Nabe, with Lupus Regina doing the same, shortening her name to Lupus. Naruto himself decided to register under as a real name instead. At first, it might appear to be counterproductive since it could tip off possible enemy players, but actually, nobody knew of Naruto's real game name besides his guildmates. The blonde had his account name concealed during a limited game shop sale where you could purchase a special service to have your name appear differently to all players except for those who were added to your friends list. If he remembered correctly, the number of people who actually bought that service could have been counted with one hand since many thought it to be a useless feature, but the blonde knew of the importance in concealing private information, and to him, it was money well spent. Plus, besides his real name, he was able to use his old fox friend's name, Kurama. Lupus, ha! Naruto chuckled, remembering his father's, New World's, favorite show about a crippled doctor. It's never Lupus. Did you say anything, Naruto-sama? Lupus Regina asked while tilting her head in a cute manner. You don't need to be so formal while we're posing as adventures. You can call me Naruto, or Naru for short if you prefer. Naruto commented and received a cheerful, hi, in return. Anyway, our current plan is to rank up to highest possible adamantite rank, correct? Naruto stated as he watched his undead friend nod in affirmative. That might take some time. Unlike in the game, we don't have any shortcuts to abuse or even know the most effective method to receive merit. Momon chuckled as he pointed at Naruto. Well, that will be a problem you will have to solve for us, so get to studying, my friend. The blonde's mouth gaped, before literally dropping to the ground, cracking the sidewalk in the process as well. I have to figure it out. Yes. Was the entire Black Knight said while placing metal-clad fists on his hips. Nah. No way. Listening to Kaguya's reports was already bad enough. I am not going through that hell again. Naruto almost shouted out. Some of the people watching the group chuckled at the blonde's comical antics. I've done things that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. It was practically no sleep, just friction from my hands moving papers and hearing Kaguya speak. He kept complaining until they finally reached the building and entered the guild hall. Let's just get registered first and I'll see what I can do. The blonde might not like being saddled with tedious work like this, but for his friends, he will always do his best, even if it meant gathering boring information. Finally, we received these things. Not a fan of the color though. Naruto commented while slightly lifting the copper plate that was attached to a necklace. Then it's a good thing we won't be wearing them for long. Nice job with receptionist, by the way. Ains complimented as he remembered how after his friend finished his registration, the blonde managed to sweet-talk the receptionist into allowing him to speak with someone from higher management at the guild. The receptionist took him to a private room where Naruto talked with a guild official, and after some skillful wordplay, he fished out useful information about rank-ups. With the information you received, we gained a good head start. Soon, we'll make a name for ourselves and rise through the ranks to iron, silver, gold, mithril, orichalcum, and finally, adamantite. Once we achieve high status, we will be able to move more freely at various countries and gather knowledge about this world. We will also be able to earn a lot of gold. Adamantite rank adventures are extremely rare, so people are prepared to pay insane amounts of gold for their services. Just by completing several adamantite level quests, a normal citizen of this world would be able to purchase a beautiful villa with servants and spend the rest of their days without having to work ever again. Naruto explained to his leader. Yes, while we do have gold, it's an Yggdrasil currency. The sooner we fill our coffers with this world's gold, the sooner we can proceed with our future plans in spreading Ain's Ulgaon name. Momon commented while thinking about the future of his precious guild.
Yeah, we also need to be prepared in case, God forbid, some of our NPCs died and we wouldn't have enough gold to revive them. Well, if that actually happened, I'm prepared to raze entire kingdoms to the ground and take all their gold without sparing a single coin. Naruto proclaimed as Narberl and Lupus Regina smiled at his words, knowing that there are no other beings as strong as Naruto or Ains. Their hearts were also touched at how far the supreme leaders would go just to protect them.
You got that right. Alright then, Let us find an inn to spend the night at, Ains ordered. After walking through the Irantel streets for a bit, Naruto managed to spot a building that had the inn sign hanging above the doorway and quickly informed his companions about. The group entered the building, attracting many stares of the patrons sitting around the tables, but they paid them no mind. After scanning the room, they spotted the front counter and swiftly approached it. "We'd like a room for 4 people, Ains asked while placing his hand on the counter. "Of course, sir." The attendee nodded as she gave them their key. "It will be 40 copper pieces a night for a 4-bedroom, will that be acceptable?" "Yes." Ains nodded, giving the innkeeper the 40 copper coins. "Thank you for your patronage. Your room is on the 2nd floor at the very back of the hallway," the attendee informed kindly after counting the counts. "Thank you." The overlord thanked the woman and motioned for his group to follow him, only to stop after he noticed a foot hanging out, blocking his way. The undead scoffed and pushed past it. "Ouch." A random adventurer, who looked more like a common thug, mockingly whined, pretending to be hurt. He then menacingly stood up to face Momon. "That hurt, you know. What are you going to do about this?" "This insolent bug." Narberl frowned heavily as her hand slowly reached for her blade to cut down the insolent human. "Nabe." Naruto held an arm out to stop her. "Calm down. He's not worth your time," he muttered. "Hey, I think I know how you can compensate my friend. How about you lend that pretty little thing to us?" Another thug-looking adventurer added while smirking perversely. "Touch her and you die," Naruto stated coldly with a glare so intense that it could practically be its own attack. The second thug adventurer felt an ice-cold shiver run down his spine from the intense glare and quickly got the message to back off. However, it seemed that the first thug wasn't as smart as his companion. Thinking that the blonde was only a newbie blowing hot air, he grabbed the left side of Naruto's collar and prepared to punch him. Naruto's glare only intensified in return. Before the thug's pathetic fist could even touch the fox hybrid's face, he caught the punch using only 2 fingers, the thumb and index. He then quickly twisted the thug's arm around to his back and applied pressure. It might be only a basic hold, but the thug wasn't used to having his arm being folded that way and cried out in pain, only for Naruto to roundhouse kick him the next moment. The thug sailed through the air, crashed into a table a bit further away. "If you ever try to mess with us again, you will not be leaving this place, alley." "No. My potion." The blonde wasn't able to finish his warning as a sudden shout from a red-haired woman cut him off. The said woman was around 20 years old or younger and had untidy red hair that was trimmed short for easy movement. Her face was quite beautiful with sharp eyes, no makeup and wheat-colored skin from long exposure to the sun. Her arms had solid muscles on them and her hands were full of calluses from wielding a sword. "What the hell?" The red-haired woman snapped while quickly running up to Naruto and grabbing him by his collar with both hands. "You threw that guy at my table and broke the potion I had saved up for. It cost me 1 gold and 10 silver. I had to miss meals to afford that," she complained while comically shaking the blonde. "They're the ones who bothered us. They should pay you back," Ains stated from his spot, trying explaining the situation with calmness and ease. "But these guys won't pay up because they're drunk. I even doubt they've seen or own 1 piece of gold." She frowned. "Though, from looking at your gear, you people should have quite a bit of nice penny. So how about it?" Naruto looked at Ains and the two were about to talk via telepathy but were forced to stop when they noticed Narberl and Lupus Regina slowly approaching the disgruntled female adventurer from behind. Naruto put his hand inside his pocket and secretly took out one of his health potions from inside his inventory and moved in front of the woman's face. The woman tilted her head when she saw the red-colored liquid inside and was broken out of her trance when Naruto shoved the potion into her hands. "There, you can have my potion. Are ya happy now?" the blonde asked as the woman eyed the item suspiciously, wondering if it was really what she was after. After a few minutes she finally relented and nodded in acceptance while looking at Naruto's expression, making sure he didn't cheat her. "HMPH. This will do, for now, but if I find out that you deceived me, there will be hell to pay," the woman warned before grabbing the potion and leaving the building in a hurry, causing Naruto to wonder where she ran off to. "Woo, crisis averted, I think," he breathed a sigh in relief before giving a small, playful glare at Narberl and Lupus Regina. The former looked back confusingly at the blonde while the latter just smiled cheekily. After the commotion had finally settled, the group left the main inn hall and went into their room. Thankfully there were 4 beds as requested and everyone had their own space. "Lord Naruto, why did you give that feeble being a red potion?" Narberl inquired while looking at her lord. We technically do share the same blame as those thugs. I did miscalculate when I threw one of them and he landed onto her table, breaking her potion in the process. It's only natural to compensate whoever was wronged by this incident," Naruto explained. But Narberl tried to protest. Naruto raised his hand to stop the doppelganger and continued to speak. Think about it like this, right now we are posing as adventurers, correct? Should we not play the part of heroes? We don't want humans to fear us or believe that we are some sort of overlords after all. He further explained. Remember, this is all part of the plan. We must pretend to be on the side of justice and accumulate good deeds so when they do find out about our true identity, it will be easier for us to gain their trust. Naruto said, although most of what he had just said came from the many mangas and anime speeches that he read about. Humans are still trash, Narberl muttered with a soft frown adorning her face. Nabe, while I won't force you to change your opinion about human beings, please try keeping your hostility towards them to a minimum, Ain's facepalmed. Seriously, just how stubborn can she be? Yeah, I mean humans are fun punchy playthings, the red-haired werewolf agreed while raising her arms in excitement, but both Naruto and Ain's were worried about the last part of her sentence. We, are not going to discuss what she was about to say. Naruto deadpanned while Ain's rubbed his templates in irritation. Sigh, the skeleton overlord breathed out a sigh that was not really suited for a menacing being like himself. While I understand that you two have low opinions about humans, I will repeat again, please try to hold back your hostility towards them in public. The two women's faces became neutral as both of them bowed their heads in respect. As our lord's command, it shall be done. They spoke in perfect harmony. And another thing, do not call us lords when we're in public. We are simple adventurers, Momon and Naruto. Ain's added with Naruto quickly nodding. Remember, our enemies from Yggdrasil might have also arrived at this new world and we need to be careful not to alert them. Naruto warned them as he wanted to avoid a possible confrontation with enemy players, for now that is. Both of the maids bowed again. Got it, understood lord. Just the name, no titles. Ain's sighed, again, before sitting on the bed that felt quite lumpy. He was thankful for being an undead as sleep wouldn't be a factor in his daily life. Understood, Momon, sir. Narberl sighed as it was really hard for her not to address her masters in a respectful manner. Well, I'll take what I can get with that, Ain's muttered while scratching his skull. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX It was an early morning as the four fake adventurers spent the whole night discussing their immediate plans. Currently, the main objective was to gather as much intel on the land as possible, and the best way to do that is by becoming Adamantite-class adventurers. Naruto informed the group that the fastest method in achieving rank up is by proving your strength, wits and power during quests. The better you perform, the bigger the chances are for ranking up. If by some chance they manage to perform exceptionally well, even multiple rank ups are possible. Then shouldn't we just take an Adamantite quest and prove to the guild that we are the real deal when it comes to overwhelming power? Ins asked. No can do, buddy. We have to follow the basic Monster Hunter rules. Naruto stated as Ains tilted his head in confusion, along with the maids. It means that the guild officials would rather not send people who can only boast about being strong and get killed in the end. It would make the whole guild look bad. So, until we at least jump to platinum or higher rank, we can't take any of the Adamantite rank quests. The blonde explained. The Adventure Guild system reminded him of a bit of Elemental Nations, as the ninja there also had to fulfill jobs according to their ninja rank. How inconvenient, Narbarl frowned. Rules are rules, Nabe. We can't break them. Naruto shrugged while looking at them. But from what I managed to learn, if we complete about 20 subjugation quests and pass the guild's test, I am pretty sure we would get promoted to silver rank. Only 20 subjugation quests and a test? It's that simple? Lupus Regina asked while tilting her head from side to side. Must. Resist. Petting. Naruto kept chanting in his mind. Well, for us it is only 20. For a normal adventurer, even a single subjugation quest can prove to be challenging. There are often cases where the difficulty of a quest suddenly rises from easy to extremely dangerous. The guild official mentioned that a normal goblin elimination quest can turn deadly if the goblins have a shaman or even worse, a leader, among them. As Naruto explained the quest system, he was reminded of his very first C-rank mission back in Elemental Nations. The seemingly simple escort mission turned into an A-rank protection mission when the employer lied about the contents of the mission. That's why most adventurers take subjugation quests only when they feel they are ready. Until then, to earn coin they complete gathering quests. I see, and what about this test? Ains asked while scratching his chin in thought. The test is pretty basic. After completing the necessary quest quota, and if the guild deems you to be ready, adventurers are assigned to the local graveyard guard duty. For a whole week, adventurers have to watch over the graveyard and eliminate any zombies and skeletons that rise from the graves. It's not a difficult test, but it tests adventure dedication to duty, their combat abilities, and adaptation. Naruto informed. In his opinion, it's a pretty good test as from personal experience he knew how important it is to be a dedication to your profession. Sounds kinda boring, but as long as I can assist my lords in their future plans, I'm prepared to do anything asked of me. Lupus Regina cheered while showing off a V sign. I trust in my lord's knowledge and judgment. I'm ready to fulfill my duties, Narberl said with a gentle smile and a salute. I accept your sincere dedication and be assured you will be rewarded in the future. Now, make sure you are all prepared as today we will take on our first quests. We should look for subjugation quests that have either the same or similar destination as to save time. The dark-plated overlord suggested and Naruto nodded in agreement. No problem. Hey, I'm actually kinda looking forward to this now, Naruto replied while grinning. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Naruto sighed in relief when he saw that most of the harder quests for copper ranks offered a decent amount of pay. Well, at least for beginner adventurers it was decent pay. The real best part about the quest sheets he had picked was that they were almost all in the same area. This should be easy. Excuse me, miss, is there perhaps a quest we can take that isn't copper rank? Even a simple gathering quest will do. The guild reception sighed and shook her head. As I told you yesterday, we cannot bend the rules on that, sir. Adventurers are only allowed to take quests of the same rank. I understand that this might be inconvenient for you, but proper procedures must be followed. At the receptionist's answer, Naruto himself sighed and looked back apologetically at his teammates. Looks like they will have to take the long route to fame, but it was still worth a shot. Before he could submit the quest sheets he had picked, Naruto noticed a group of 4 humans heading towards them. Hey guys. We heard about your request, and if you don't mind, you can join the 4 of us on our quest. The leader of the group offered. He had blonde hair and blue eyes while his unremarkable face had smooth features. He wore chainmail armor with numerous chains of rings forming a mesh, which was worn on top of leather shirt. Really, are you sure you want a group of beginner adventurers tagging along? Ains questioned suspiciously, although the human didn't appear to pick up on his tone. The leader nodded cheerfully before tilting his head towards the upper floor. There's a big table on the 2nd floor used for negotiations if you want to talk it over, he suggested. Ains looked at Naruto, who shrugged nonchalantly in return. The fox hybrid didn't feel any kind of evil intent from coming from them, and his instincts were always right on the money. All right then. We shall accept your offer. The 2 adventure groups then climbed onto the 2nd floor, where a large table allowed both teams to sit at opposite sides. First, allow me to officially introduce ourselves. We are called the Swords of Darkness. I'm Peter Mock, the leader of this team. The human, now named Peter, kindly introduced himself before gesturing towards a man sitting on his left. The said man had blonde hair and brown eyes that gave him a cheerful look. He wore leather armor and had a thin body that was clearly built more for speed than strength. Heya, the name's Lucrot Volve. At your service. The thin man offered his name while winking flirtatiously towards Nabe and Beta. The 2 maids didn't show any reaction to his introduction and instead focused their attention towards the rest of the group, causing the playboy look down in defeat. Peter continued onwards and gestured towards the largest member of the team, whose eyes were closed to a squint and kind smile adorned his face. The man also had huge groomed beard covering his mouth, and coupled with his bulky body, he almost looked like a barbarian. This here is Dine Wonderwood. He's the team's healer and also uses nature magic to work to our advantage. Nice to meet you folks. The big man greeted with a nod. Then the leader smiled brightly and gestured towards the final and youngest member of the team. And this here is the brains of our team, the brilliant spellcaster, Ninja. Ninja possessed brown hair and blue eyes with a face that looked a bit on the childish side, but by far it was the best looking face of the group. His skin was pale and he wore leather clothes fit for a mage. The younger boy bowed his head in respect. Hello. It's very nice to meet you, he said before looking at Peter with a frown. Peter, I thought I told you not to refer me like that. The group leader just chuckled at the young mage's modesty. I'm only stating the truth. You got to be proud of it. Our dear Ninja is a talent holder. Lucrot smiled widely while bragging about his young teammate. Both Naruto's and Ains's eyes widened, although only one of them could actually physically do that, at the mention of a talent holder. If Naruto had to find an equivalent, then talent holders are almost like bloodline limits possessors back in elemental nations. Special skills and abilities that no one else could copy. If Ninja truly does possess a talent, then she is almost guaranteed to become a famous adventurer in the future. It's called magic aptitude, and what it basically does is reduce the time needed to learn a spell by half. For example, if Ninja wanted to learn a spell that normally takes 10 years to master, for him it would only take 5 years. It's an incredibly useful talent that quite a few kingdoms would pay mountains of gold just to hire the possessor of it. Peter explained while Naruto nodded in understanding. Back in Yggdrasil, it was a basic passive skill that most mage classes gained after their first class change. It's just pure luck that I received it, and to be honest, sometimes I think it's a bit unfair to others that I have it. Ninja stated while Naruto smiled at the boy's humble nature. In his opinion, the kid will definitely go far in this world even if his adventurer career doesn't pan out. As you can see, Ninja is a bit modest, but in all seriousness, he's a valuable member of the team and the best comrade one could ask for. The leader of the all-male team declared with a pat on the back for his friend. Yeah, well, you're forgetting that there is someone even more famous than me in Irantel. The young mage informed, getting a collected nod from the rest of the party members. Indeed, Master Bareare is quite talented as well. Dine commented as Naruto stored that name into his memory as a possible observation target. If you don't mind me asking, who is this Bareare? Ains, Momon quickly asked, hoping to acquire as much information as possible regarding the individual. Who knows, it might prove beneficial in the future. Wow, you guys really aren't from around here, huh? But that does explain a lot. Peter stated with a smile, now understanding why the impressive-looking team was so new to this guild's way of doing things. And you are quite correct in your assumption. Me and my teammates only arrived yesterday at this city. Naruto started out while pointing at his companions. We kinda all met up at one point and our journey eventually took us here. You see, we're from the far south and there are barely any kingdoms as you might know. The silver-ranked team nodded at those words and leader spoke up again. No problem, I can fill you in. Bearer's full name is Enfire Bareare and he is a genius pharmacist that brews amazing potions. His grandmother isn't that bad either as she has decades of accumulated skill. Now, the one thing that makes Enfire stand out from most people is that he can use any magical item without any training. Momon, Naruto quickly whispered to the leader of Nazarick and the undead nodded back in full seriousness. If what Peter said is true, then Enfire's talent dwarfs most of theirs in an instant. Magic Item Affinity, a skill that granted the ability to use any magical item with no limitations or regardless of its restrictions. It was a skill that was nearly impossible to achieve in all of Yggdrasil. A skill that even Naruto himself wasn't able to acquire despite one full year of non-stop grinding and repeating the same mandatory quests over and over again. In fact, Naruto wasn't sure if anyone was actually able to acquire the skill back in Yggdrasil since no one had ever claimed to have it. Plus, if someone did have that skill, then that someone would have practically dominated the entire game as he or she could equip themselves with the best gear and accessories available without suffering any penalties. This Enfire has just become of the most dangerous individuals to look out for since arriving in this world. My lords, we should be wary of this individual. Nabe warned her lords while Lupus' eyes narrowed dangerously. Deciding to change the tense atmosphere, for now, Naruto smiled kindly. Thank you for sharing that piece of information with us, but I believe we should start talking about the joint quest, nay? Naruto suggested with a cheerful look while Peter and his team smiled at his easygoing mood. Right, we did go a bit off topic. So, the reason we offered you to join us is that we need your help, but you're most likely wondering why? The leader elaborated while the others nodded, save for Narberl who just stared blankly at them. The main objective of our quest is to annihilate all the monsters that moved too close to the city's surrounding area. You were hired to do a simple extermination quest? Momon inquired as it seems odd for a silver-ranked adventure group to do a cleanup job that normal iron-ranked adventures could handle. While scratching the back of his head, Peter gave an uneasy smile. Well, no, not exactly. You see, it's sort of like an off-the-books expedition that we voluntarily tackle by ourselves from time to time. Could you explain that a bit more? The red-haired maid of Nazarick asked, lifting her hand up at the odd wording from the human. It means that it's not an official quest, Lupus. Ains elaborated in a way that the cheerful werewolf could understand. It's a dull, but nonetheless necessary job that must be fulfilled for the safety of people. The larger man, Dine, stated resolutely. Naruto looked at the man with respect. His admiration for the group's sense of duty once again rose. And it doesn't hurt to make a few coins from doing it either, the ranger joked half-heartedly. They're basically farming. Naruto sent a private message, via telepathy, to Ains, who chuckled in agreement. It seemed that there is no place safe from the horror of endless grinding. Yes, so to speak. Peter gave a sheepish smile. It's really not that bad. Not only are we earning money while protecting the civilians, but we're also continuously improving our skills as well. I see. Ains nodded in understanding, but in his mind, he already concluded that the Swords of Darkness were basically doing farming, just like players would do back in Yggdrasil. Not that he minded though. So, what do you say? Want to join us? We're first gonna head into the forest near the main road and afterward proceed north. Depending on how well the monster hunting goes, we should be done before midnight or sunrise at the latest if we decide to camp. Peter offered, not only letting both parties choose when to return but also being considerate enough to not push others beyond their capabilities. A kind leader that puts more faith in his comrades than personal greed or pride. I don't see why not. Ains agreed before standing up and extending his hand forward. The leader of Human Party quickly understood what the Overlord was trying to do and with a bright smile shook his hand. Besides, it gives our group an opportunity to test our skills against the monsters of this region. It sure does, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you are capable of. I will notify the receptionist about our joint quest, and trust me when I say that this will definitely help you rank up faster. Peter enticed the Nazarick group, which was quite alright with the armored undead. HMPH, I will take your word for it. Just one more thing before we do this. I believe it's best that I showed you my face. Since we'll be working together, I want us to be able to trust one another better, so keeping my face hidden all the time would be counterproductive. Ains stated while reaching for his helmet. That proclamation startled Naruto, as he would have never expected his friend to make such a bold move. When Ains finally removed his helmet, the blonde was again startled when he saw a human face. It was just an average Japanese male face, and that surprised Naruto quite a bit since he expected Ains to use something closer to European ethnicity to match the theme of the region.
Naruto blinked in confusion. After a few moments of silence, Peter was the first one to break the ice. Now that I think about it, I heard of a country in far south where people with that kind of appearance are quite common, but this is the first time I am able to meet one in person. The silver-ranked adventurer stated as Naruto's story now made more sense to him.
Lucrut leaned towards Ninya with a soft smile. He is definitely able to match his manner of speech with a face like that. He is actually a bit older than I gave him credit for. In return, Ninya smacked the upside of his friend's head for the lack of tact. Show some respect. Sir Momen is placing a lot of trust in us by shows his face. We're sorry about our friend. Peter apologized. He can a bit of a prude sometimes. It's quite alright. I am trying to keep my face hidden since in the past we had received some unwanted hate from others due to our looks. Ains commented before pointing at Naruto, Nabe, and Lupus. These three, thankfully, are of mixed heritage, so they don't need to keep their appearances hidden. Makes sense. Lucrut replied while looking at Naruto and the disguised maids. Although their appearances definitely had unique features, they won't have as much trouble blending in with the local populace as Momen would. Naruto secretly smirked at how clever his friend was. Not only he managed to trick the humans with simple illusion magic, but he also made up a good lie to keep his face hidden. He would have made a good shinobi back in his homeworld, something close to Shikamaru's level since he was more brains than brawn. I have a question, the Rouge, Lucrut suddenly exclaimed while raising his hand in a similar manner Lupus Regina usually does. What kind of a relationship do you and that fine miss over there have? He asked while pointing at Naruto and Narbarl, who was sitting next to him. We're just friends. Naruto answered while scratching the back of his head sheepishly. Shall I spoon out your eyes? Nabe warned in a voice colder than any ice. At that moment, she wanted nothing more than to cut off the bug's head for the sheer audacity of his question. MMMMMH, the thin man loudly hummed. At least, Naruto hoped it was humming. God. Let it please be only humming. The fox hybrid quickly moved his leg to prevent Nabe from attacking since the black aura surrounding her gave even Lupus Regina the shivers. Ah yes, such cold honesty is so rare nowadays, my fair lady. Would you grant this humble one the honor of courting you? I would rather fornicate with a rusty knife than listen to your romantic nothings all day. Nabe brutally rejected, and Naruto himself was having a hard time resisting the urge to puke at the nearest available corner. This guy was almost as bad as Ero Sennin. She doesn't. The blonde tried to speak up on his companion's behalf, but was once again cut off by the weird humming. MMMMMH, yes, you're right. We shall start as friends for now, Lucrut declared loudly while waving his hands in a grandiose manner. Seriously, just how oblivious can this guy be? Wham! Asterisk before the Rouge could spout any more drivel, his head was slammed hard into the table by none other than Peter himself. The team leader sighed in relief after finally shutting up his friend. I'm very sorry, as I said before. Lucrut can be a bit of a prude, and sometimes even more than usual. The young man bowed apologetically. Yeah, I can see that, Naruto replied uneasily before glancing at Nabe. The said maid seemed to have calmed down, but the dumb Casanova was definitely moved to the top of her kill list. Yeah, it's safe to say that these two should never ever be in the same room alone. They would never be able to find the body. That being said, Allow us to properly introduce ourselves as well. My name is Momon and these are my dear friends, Naruto, Nabe and Lupus. The Overlord decided to get the negotiations back on track after the situation appeared to be resolved. Yo. Naruto followed his friend's lead and waved casually. It's nice to meet you. Lupus Regina cheerfully spoke up while waving her hand excitedly. HMPH, Nabe was just being Nabe. Nice to meet you all. The Swords of Darkness gave a kind reply to everyone's introduction before Dine smiled at Naruto. Excuse me for saying this, but are you perhaps a martial artist? The large man asked and the blonde player nodded in confirmation. Oh, as I thought. Your bearing and posture suggest that you are an experienced hand-to-hand fighter. Then I guess that Miss Lupus is also a fighter, based on her weapon of choice and her firm hands. This leaves Lady Nabe as magic caster of the group, yes. Momon finished as he hoped their clothing made them easy to be recognized as such. Besides himself, Naruto, Narberl and Lupus Regina were very close to their actual classes and if by some chance they encountered a strong opponent, the three of them could unleash more of their power without giving away much of their true strength. Naruto's physical powers alone were decent for most maxed out level players, but the blonde's true talent lied within his unusual way of playing and the many unique skills he had gathered. Nabe and Lupus were more or less the same but just holding back as much as possible. Momonga was the only one who was fighting at his weakest talent as a tank. All in all, the team composition was rather tame when it came to pure offense. Half an hour later So, if you're all ready to head out, we can begin our quest. Peter offered as the two groups headed down the stairs. For the past 30 minutes, they discussed their individual strengths and weaknesses so they could cover each other better when it came to combat. Of course, the two other world players watered down their side of information as much as possible. We are ready. Ains stated while Naruto and their two maids nodded in agreement. Before the two adventurer parties could exit the guild hall, a voice suddenly called out to them. Sir Momon and Sir Naruto? It was the same receptionist that Naruto talked with before. She walked up towards them with a look of confusion on her face. We just received a request from someone who wants to hire your group specifically. Both Ains's and Naruto's bodies tensed slightly at that, who want to hire an adventure group that hasn't even completed their first quest yet. This wasn't a good sign to the two as it seemed rather too convenient. Oh, and who is this? Someone? Ains asked politely, trying his best to remain calm and show no nervousness. A few moments later, they were approached by a young boy who had short, bowl-cut blonde hair that covered half his face and possessed blue eyes. He was dressed in ragged work clothes that one would use for working at a workshop if the undead guessed correctly. Scan. Naruto whispered very quietly before nudging his friend. From what I'm reading, it appears that this kid is the other talent holder that Peter spoke of. As soon as those words left his mouth, both Nabe and Lupus instantly rushed to their fronts and prepared for combat, or at least they would have, if not for a swift head chop to Nabe from Ains and a flick to the ear for Lupus from Naruto. OWW, ouchie, the two sisters cried out with tearful looks in their eyes. Both of them looked back pleadingly at their masters. Don't give those looks, you both need to be mindful in the future and don't rush in like that, Naruto ordered. The two maids still looked pleadingly at their master and the blonde sighed in annoyance before giving them a kind smile. The next moment, the two sisters nearly melted into the ground when Naruto started petting them gently. After the two women finally calmed down, Naruto and Ains finished climbing down the stairs to greet the young male. The boy tried to stand tall, but the slight shaking of his hands revealed just how nervous he really was. Hello. The young pharmacist teen greeted as Naruto nearly busted a gut. Many of the guildmates from Nazarick were, as Ains's close friend, Pararanchino, liked to call them, men of culture. AKA, super perverts, and they tried to convert Naruto into one of them as well. They would force him to watch all the best hentai, according to them, that was gathered at the Great Library of Nazarick, special section. This kid had the same look nearly all of eroge protagonists have. His eyes were nearly hidden away by his hair, the face was round and *ahem cute, as one might say. Even his shy attitude nearly made the blonde lose his calm composure. He mentally flicked off the idiot guildmates that had forced him to watch art, as they called it. I'm an Enfire Bareare. The shy boy continued on with his introduction while stuttering. Damn you, Pararanchino-san, you and Bukubuku Shigama-san ruined me. You guys make Ero Sennin look decent by comparison. Naruto mentally ranted. After taking a few calming breaths, the boy seemed to have composed himself enough to no longer stutter. As the receptionist has informed you, I'm the one who wishes to hire your group. He explained while looking at the armored undead.
After thinking for a bit, Ains gave his reply.
I am sorry to disappoint you, but my team is not able to take upon your request at the moment. The armored undead rejected the quest politely. I've already promised the adventure team behind me to join them on their quest. Perhaps after we finish it, we could help you out then? But Enfira tried to protest, unsure of how to convince Momin. Sir Momin, I believe it's best to at least hear him out, Peter suggested, deciding to help out the boy a bit. But I already made an agreement with your team, the undead tried to reason. But your team, before the human adventurer could say more, Naruto interrupted him. I'm with Ains ahem, I mean that I agree with Momin here. Naruto added his 2 cents after crossing his arms together. I believe in terms of keeping promises and oaths strongly. What kind of people would we be if we didn't keep our promises? But it's a personal request. It's so much more important than our simple quest. It could also possibly help you advance through the ranks faster. Peter reminded them, once again earning respect from the former shinobi as the young leader demonstrated how he cared more about others' well-being than his own. Since you insist so much, let's hear the kid out. Who knows, it might turn out to be something interesting. Naruto offered and his undead friend decided to relent. He motioned for the group to go back upstairs since it was more private there, and the jealous stares from other adventurers were also kind of getting annoying. After taking seats around the big table again, their newest client spoke up. As you most likely have heard, I'm a pharmacist and along with my grandmother, we brew potions and other types of medicine at her workshop. I'm currently on a routine run to deliver potions to Karne village and also gather supplies from the forest surrounding it. Ains and Naruto perked up at the mention of Karne village. Normally, I would deliver the potions by myself, but recently there were more monster sightings than usual and the bandit activity has spiked as well. For that, I deemed it necessary to hire adventurers to protect me and my cargo during the delivery and materials gathering. As a reward, I'm willing to give you both gold and some of my potions. Enfira offered. Naruto considered the reward for the quest. Potions weren't really needed as the NPCs back at the tomb could make armies worth of potions. The gold reward, on the other hand, was more enticing. Karne village, Ains muttered via telepathy to Naruto. Isn't that the village you saved from those religious fanatics? Naruto asked while thinking about the quest. The very same, but that is not the main problem. It's pretty much clear that the boy is not telling the whole details regarding this quest and it's making uneasy. I will let you make the decision in this matter. Ains responded to his friend.
Naruto nodded and tried to think of the best course of action. Why did the boy request for Ains and Naruto party specifically? They are considered to be nothing more than newbies as far as the guild ranking is concerned. It would have made much more sense if the boy tried to the Swords of Darkness team. They were more, and just like that, a brilliant idea popped into his head. Alright, we accept your request, but under the condition that Peter's party will also be allowed to join us.
Huh? The said man and his party could only stare dumbly at the blonde after he made his declaration. Having someone like them should be beneficial to us all, Naruto stated as he pointed at Dine. Dine here is druid and very in tune with nature. He could find a lot more herbs with his abilities and magic. Ninya is a capable spellcaster and it's always a good idea to have 2 mages at a party rather than 1. Lukrut could be our scout and is also an excellent archer. Peter is a skilled swordsman, so he will definitely ensure that no harm would ever reach you, the fox hybrid reasoned. The young pharmacist smiled brightly after hearing Naruto's demand. That's great, I have no problem with another adventurer party tagging along. The more the merrier as the old proverb says. I don't see why not. Peter mused as he was happy for Naruto to endorsing his team like that. It would be an honor to work with you all. So, we have an agreement, but there is something I must ask. Ains stated and looked at Enfira. Why did you specifically ask about our party? My team had only recently arrived in this city and we don't know much about this land. We haven't even completed a single quest so we don't have much of a reputation either. The young pharmacist started shifting around uncomfortably after hearing the question, but in the end, he decided to give only a partial truth. Well, it's because I caught wind of what had happened at the inn your group was staying yesterday. The inn? Naruto tilted his head in confusion before him and Ains quickly realized what Enfira was referring to. They must have screwed up somehow during the confrontation with those Rouge adventures, but how? They were just drunk thugs, so there shouldn't, the potion. You don't think? Ains messaged Naruto telepathically. Yeah, it's gotta be the potion. That woman adventure from yesterday did rush off pretty quickly after receiving the potion. She mostly brought it to this kid to be examined and he became interested in how it was made. Would make sense since he does work as a pharmacist after all. Damn. I should have given that woman a low-grade potion instead of full health. The former shinobi berated himself for his careless mistake. Don't blame yourself, you couldn't have known, Ains tried to reassure his friend. In all honesty, I would have made the same mistake. Before the two could debate more on the matter, Enfire continued with his answer. See, correct. I heard of how Sir Naruto was easily able to defeat a higher-ranked adventurer, and the rumor about his strength is spreading around the town. The boy explained while trying to hide his true intentions. Unfortunately for him, the player duo already figured out his true aim, but decided to play along with ruse anyway since the kid didn't seem to be a bad person. They will deal with repercussions later. Are you sure? Naruto responded while looking directly into the pharmacist's eyes, making him flinch a bit. I don't see how a minor scuffle between adventures is noteworthy. They were just some drunken punks. Well, hiring copper adventures is cheaper as well. Despite being ranked as beginners, your group is clearly talented, so it would be wise to request for your assistance while it is still affordable. The boy humored kindly, causing Naruto to smirk in return. Fine, you won us over. Naruto agreed before standing up and motioning for the rest of the group to follow. Come on then. Let's get this show on the road. Thanks for watching here.